evening, my fellow Americans. This is Samuel Ronan, your 15th Congressional District, your 48th President, your most favorite content creator, Samuel Ronan. Today is Recap Thursday, and folks, what a day, what a week to recap. I mean, we have royalty in chains. We have Les Wexner, wow, dyslexia. Les Wexner being depositioned and then being told by his attorney, if you don't shut the fuck up, I will kill you. And just any number of things. We're threatening war with Iran. Marco Rubio is talking about recolonizing the global south. It's just a mess. And will we get to all of it today? I don't know. I'm going to try really hard. But we have a lot of stuff going on and a lot to get through. So, hola, señor presidente y congresista. My Spanish 101 class that I never took because I took Latin 1 through 4. I'm saying that's pretty good. Sci-Fi the Great, hello, I'm here, very queer. I'm here and queer as well per usual. Well, that's great. Don't forget to promote the channel. Oh, that's right. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all of these down here. And then let people know that we are doing the stream throughout the week. So, like, share, and subscribe. Let's get to the our favorite video, which is always the headlines, with Amy Goodman from Democracy Now!, the War and Peace Report.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The U.S. military is preparing to strike Iran as soon as this weekend, but President Trump still has to make the final decision. That's according...
Okay. I'm going to stop it right there. We were in peace negotiations with Iran. Those were, by every stretch of the imagination, every person that talked about it, to include America, going well, that we were building a foundation to further these talks. And now we have a 2-week pause because I'm hoping for Ramadan, but you know, maybe some other thing, right? But immediately after that, now we're just gonna say, you know what, fuck it, let's go to war. Like, guys, going to war, I did it yesterday where I went to the map and I showed like how big of a problem that would be. If we go to war with Iran, there is every real possibility that that is the thing that kicks off World War III. Now, the EU says that they're on board and whatever else, but listen, I don't mind serving my country and fighting to the death to defend it, right? Right? Protecting our lives, our families, our loved ones, our homeland, and this, that, and the other. If we're being attacked, if we are being aggressed, if we're the aggressors and we are violating other countries' sovereignty and it's to cover up a massive conspiracy about the Epstein Files, no less, which has our entire federal government implicated, yeah, I'm significantly less inclined to protect and defend our country, right? Because the military isn't there to defend the president or Congress or necessarily the lands of the country. It's to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. That's the oath, the Constitution. So I don't see how initiating war with Iran on behalf of Israel, which is treason, is going to benefit us. And now we're just, you know, casually talking about, oh yeah, we just might invade Iran this weekend after, you know, peace talks that went well, are going to be completely ignored because we have nothing but war hawks and the fact that Israel is threatening, you know, to release more damning files. Although Iran's threatening to release damning files if they get attacked. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, if you're Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is going to suffer the consequences of the pedophile in chief. So, Guess let's hear more.
According to CNN, which cited a White House source who said Trump is, quote, spending a lot of time thinking about this, unquote. On Tuesday, U.S. and Iranian negotiators held indirect talks in Geneva and left without a clear resolution. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to travel to Israel and meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later this month to discuss Iran's nuclear program.
Why is Marco Rubio traveling to Israel to discuss Iran's nuclear program? Like, that's the question, right? Why is America sending anyone to Israel to talk about any other Middle Eastern country? Is America incapable of negotiating between Iran on our own behalf? Or, because, like, here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? If America keeps going to Israel for all of its decision-making, then at what point do we stop pretending that Israel doesn't control us? Whether it's through blackmail or whether it's through something else, if Israel has the final say over U.S. foreign policy, then we are compromised as a country. And our leaders are compromised, which makes them traitors, per the Constitution. So, like, why is that conversation not being had? Why are not more people talking about it? Like, is Hassan talking about it? Like, is Anna Kasparian talking about it? Is Breaking Point's talking about that? The fact that if America continues to act on Israel's direction, that is the definitive, the definition, of treason? Like, is anybody talking about that? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Sci-Fi. That's why we get so bent out of shape with this.
Meanwhile, the U.S. is sending a second aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, to the Middle East to join the USS Abraham Lincoln in the Persian Gulf. The USS Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group has been stationed in the Caribbean.
Well, hold on a second. The Persian Gulf, that's literally off the coast of Iran. Okay, so we're essentially invading Iranian territorial waters? Okay, I thought we were just in the Arabian Sea or maybe even the Gulf of Oman, because Iran was talking about closing the Strait of Hormuz, right? So if they close the Strait of Hormuz, that would prevent boats from getting in there, right? Right? But no, we're going to take our boats into the Persian Gulf, which is right on the border of Iran, and be that much closer to Tehran. Like, if we got our boats to around here, that's probably an hour or two of strike distance from an F-35. So, I mean, this is terrifying, by the way. Like, this is absolutely batshit terrifying. Mind you, it's coming from the Caribbean Sea, going however it gets to the Gulf of... I don't know if they're going around Africa or if they're going through the Mediterranean and somehow through this way. I genuinely don't know what route they're taking, but I'm guessing it would be around Africa, right? The going around here and then up and over. But the fact that it's from the Caribbean over here, like, that's... The Persian Gulf. I don't really know what else to say. This is bad. This is really, really bad. And we're letting a pedophile who has committed oodles of crimes as well as treason just willy-nilly drag us into a potential devastating war. Just fantastic.
When the U.S. attacked Venezuela and abducted it.
Well, we usually don't refer to people by their actual name in case trolls try to, dox people. So I always go by the handle that's in chat. That, and I won't necessarily remember your actual name.
its president, Nicolas Maduro, and his wife. Iran has long maintained its nuclear program is solely for civilian purposes. This is Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian.
We have stated this many times. My own statements are not important. What matters from an ideological standpoint is the policy and the fatwa of the supreme leader. We are in no way seeking nuclear weapons. Whatever form of verification they want to carry out, we are ready for that verification to take place.
In the United Kingdom, police have...
Wow, wait, so you're just gonna go from, hey, we're about to kick off World War III and send 2 aircraft carriers into the Persian Gulf within 1 or 2 hours of striking distance of Tehran with the most advanced fighter craft that the U.S. has to offer. And then, oh, back in the UK, bully, Charles, formerly known as Prince, is getting arrested. So, anywho. Yeah, okay.
Have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former...
Andrew, formerly known as Prince. Why is nobody saying that? Like, come on.
Prince and King Charles' brother on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Authorities say they're investigating a complaint over allegations that the former prince shared confidential material with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The former prince was the UK's trade envoy between 2001 and 2011. Back in November, King Charles stripped his brother of his title as Prince and Duke of York and evicted him from his royal residence over his relationship with Epstein. It comes as Sarah Ferguson, the ex-wife of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, shut down 6 companies after the Epstein Files revealed Ferguson's close ties to the late convicted sex offender. The documents reveal Ferguson brought her daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, to visit Epstein in Miami in 2009, just 5 days after he completed a prison sentence on sex crime charges involving a minor. While Ferguson...
So that entire sentence was just insane. A roller coaster of just depravity, right? But how is it that the UK, the granddaddy of America, where the divine right of kings and royalty and this, that, and the other, well, obviously divine right of kings isn't in effect anymore, but you get the idea. They still have royalty and, you know, they have all this brouhaha and pomp and circumstance. They wasted no time going after these people and punishing them in one way or another, and yet the United States can't be bothered to, like, hold even... anyone, literally nobody accountable. Yeah, there have been a couple of resignations, only after massive public backlash. It wasn't even like, oh, I'm in the files, I better resign. It was more like, after about a month of public backlash, that's when they decided to resign. And it wasn't even at the behest of or during any sort of media thing or politicians that were threatening to prosecute. It was just like, this isn't good for our profits. Fergie's emails to Epstein are so embarrassing. She was telling him that she loved him and to please marry her. Yeah, no, she's definitely horrible. Definitely a horror. Ferguson, not Fergie Ferg from the Black Eyed Peas. I was actually going to suggest that you don't do that, Hannah, because you might confuse people into thinking that it's Fergie Ferg, and that's not who that is.
And publicly disowned Epstein in 2000.
That being said, we don't know that Fergie Ferg is in the Epstein Files, because half of them are still yet to be released. But hopefully not.
2011, calling their relationship a gigantic error of judgment and stating she abhors pedophilia. Emails reveal she privately apologized to Epstein for her public condemnations, calling him a steadfast, generous, and supreme friend, unquote.
Yeah, this lady was absolute batshit, knew he was evil and vile, condemned him in public, and then in private was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So I hope they both go to prison for life for that, for sure.
Here in the U.S., Les Wexner.
The Black Eyed Peas Fergie called herself that because of this Fergie. Was it to differentiate, or because it was supposed to be a sign of affection or respect? Because now I'm a little concerned. Do we need to be worried about Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas? Because now you have me worried.
Billionaire former CEO of Victoria's Secret testified about his relationship to Epstein in a closed-door deposition before the House Oversight Committee at his home in Ohio. This is Democratic Congressmember Robert Garcia.
There would be no Epstein Island. There would be no Epstein plane. There would be no money to traffic women and girls. Mr. Epstein would not be the wealthy man he was without the support of Les Wexner.
Meanwhile, a panel...
Which is absolutely true, because Les Wexner was the first client of Epstein. Also, why is it a closed-door deposition at his own house? Like, the man is being grilled by Congress, but has so much influence and pull still that Congress has to tuck their little tails and hang their little heads and go to his fucking house? That's what the U.S. Marshals are for. Get your fucking warrant, drag that old piece of shit out of his Ohio fucking house, drag his ass to Washington, arrested in chains, shackled to a chair, and grilled in front of the whole goddamn country for being the OG financier to the largest piece of shit in modern history. Or at the very least, the 21st century. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm absolutely horrified that Wexner owned most of the clothing brands that I adored as a child. Well, that's the problem, right? All of the clothing brands, including Abercrombie and Fitch, Aeropostale, Tommy Hilfiger, they're all owned by horrible, horrible people. There is not a single clothing brand that is not owned by a horrible, horrible person. Now, not all of them were in the Epstein ring, but they were just horrible for love of the game. But the fact that Les Wexner was owned the premier ones, and then was basically responsible for guiding fashion, fashion trends for decades, and driving the narrative that younger and skinnier and more adolescent looking you look, the prettier you are. I mean, the drive to look like a teenager in their prime, that's literally being driven by Epstein and Les Wexner through Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works and all these other businesses that were convincing adult women that they needed to look like teenagers, and convincing men that women that don't look like teenagers are ugly and washed up. Think about it. Over the past 30 years, the narrative of what is a woman and what is a beauty standard has shifted horrifically towards the Epstein clientele, the normalization. I mean, look at Britney Spears. She was sexualized as a 15-year-old. And then when she finally became 18, they went scorched earth with it. And it broke her at a very young age. I think her first mental breakdown was at 19 or 20. Like, we have, hell, take the Harry Potter franchise. Emma Watson was an honest-to-God child in the first movie. And as she got closer and closer to 18, there were literal countdowns on the internet waiting for her to turn 18 so they could finally sexualize her. That is literally being driven by this piece of garbage who was financed by Les Wexner, who also had a hand of directly and deliberately driving what is and is not considered a beauty standard. It's disgusting. Even Justin Bieber was a victim, because men have to look like they're teenagers in their prime as well. I mean, if we're being honest, the rugged, hairy, burly, bearded man is not the primary standard. It's clean-shaven but muscular, but not too big, but just slim enough. Literally. It all points back. And this isn't me saying it. This isn't conspiracy. This is what's in the files. People like him talking about this, discussing it, planning how to spread that information. Who do we need next in our little club to make it happen? That's when they started reaching out to media. That's when they started reaching out to entertainment. That's when they started reaching out to other industries and politicians to normalize and drive these messages. It's disgusting. And it's right there in the open for everyone to see. And yet, in America, we are burying our heads in the sand, allowing it to be ignored. Like, we have pockets of protest against ICE. We have pockets of protest against individuals mentioned in the Epstein Files, but we aren't actively, aggressively marching on Washington when the entire cabinet and the entire administration is complicit to these files. And Pam Bondi herself said if we prosecuted him, it would collapse the entire system. Like, they are openly admitting that this is deep. That it's not about draining the swamp. It is the swamp. The Epstein Files in the swamp, that Venn diagram is a circle. And they are admitting it out loud and hiding in plain sight on top of it. And we are collectively doing nothing about it. Right. You both are making very valid points. Right, they're slowly desensitizing us and have been for years, and we're just allowing it to happen. We're allowing it to happen, and it should, like, the fact that that is the case is soul crushing. It truly is soul crushing and demoralizing.
Of independent experts appointed by the United Nations Human Rights Council is calling for an independent and impartial investigation into alleged sex crimes contained in the Epstein file.
Well, that's the thing, right? The UN is going to do this, and then what? America's going to veto it. Russia's going to veto it. I think Germany? No, Germany does not have a veto. Is it France? France or England has a permanent veto in the United Nations as well. Like, any of these countries that are going to be implicated are probably going to sabotage this effort. And what is the United Nations going to do? There is an international arrest warrant for Netanyahu for crimes against humanity and war crimes. That is issued. That is being widespread to everywhere in the world. And Netanyahu still remains free. So what? They're going to come up with arrest warrants for Trump and the entire administration and various members of industry. And then what? All that's going to do is tell them don't go to the countries that are willing to enforce it. If the United Nations doesn't actually have the ability to enforce it, then this is just more smoke and mirrors to keep the people complacent. And, well, I, for one, am not going to be complacent, but unfortunately, a majority of the population seems to be willing. And that is what we need to overcome. And then when I say we need to do something more, I'm suddenly crazy. Yeah, no, I believe you because I'm dealing with it. And it's happening on both sides of the aisle. Whether it's conservatives and liberals, right, like the establishment, whether it's leftists and organizers, they're saying the same thing. It's like, no, we have to focus on this, or we have to focus on that, or what you're doing is wrong. It's insane. It's insane that of all the things that should unite us, a global conspiracy of a child sex trafficking, murder, and cannibalist ring isn't it? We can't unite collectively over child crimes that range from assault to cannibalism and murder? Are you serious? Are you serious right now? That's not going to bring us together. Like, I'm happy to go marching one by one, hurrah. I'll bring my lightsaber. I'll bring my prop, whatever it takes. But, like, it's just going to be me and maybe a couple dozen folks marching by ourselves? How is the whole world not up in arms right now? That's what I'd like to know. All right, I don't want to see this fucking face.
The UN panel says, quote, so grave is the scale, nature, systematic character, and transnational reach of these atrocities against women and girls that a number of them may reasonably meet the legal threshold of crimes against humanity, unquote. The Trump administration is planning to build a 5,000-person military base in Gaza, sprawling more than 350 acres. That's
Well, this is news to me. We're trying to build a military base in Gaza? Are you fucking kidding? Are you...
according to contracting records reviewed by The Guardian newspaper, which reports the site is meant to host a future international stabilization force, part of the so-called Board of Peace chaired by President Trump. Today,
Yeah, and there's also supposed to be a prison city where the Palestinians are going to be forced into and then probably systemically murdered. Like this... Oh my God.
Dozens of world leaders and high-ranking diplomats are gathering in Washington, D.C. as the Board of Peace holds its inaugural meeting. Ahead of the summit, European allies declined to join. Countries sending delegations are largely led by authoritarian governments. The list includes Argentina, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Belarus, Egypt, Hungary, Indonesia, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates. The Pope has refused...
Okay, well, I guess that's why the UAE is going to do anything about if America invades Iran. Because they are in cahoots with America now in trying to curry favor with Trump. And it's crazy, too, that it's called the Board of Peace when it's literally the League of Villains. It's literally the comic book League of Villains, and they're calling it the Board of Peace. It's... disturbing. And we're gonna I just it's really frustrating because, like, as a candidate, I cannot go to a city council meeting and talk about the Board of Peace and how all this is going on. I can't even talk about the Epstein Files and all the shit that's going on because it's a city council meeting. It has literally nothing to do with any of these national or international problems. Unless, of course, somebody from the city council is in the list. But the big issues that should be driving public opinion right now aren't discussed at the local level or are only discussed cursory on the news at best. And maybe talked about at work or over the dinner table. And it's just... it's very disconcerting. How are you supposed to address the big issues when you will look like an absolute lunatic if you try and address it in a public forum? This is extremely stressful.
To join the Board of Peace. This comes as Palestinians left homeless by Israel's bombardment say they have yet to receive any assistance rebuilding their shattered neighborhoods.
As Palestinians living in displacement, we first hope for the reconstruction of Rafah city, and secondly, the infrastructure. We have destruction in hospitals, in health, in education, in infrastructure, in electricity, in water, in housing, in the environment, in diseases, in the spread of diseases, and in the spread of things like that. So we hope for reconstruction in a very quick way.
A new study finds Israel's assault on Gaza killed far more Palestinians than initially reported, writing in the...
Well, and that's the thing. Reconstruction isn't going to happen because the Board of Peace is trying to turn Gaza into a luxury resort and displace what remaining Palestinians there are either out of the country or in a prison city, in an actual honest-to-God ghetto. I said, why aren't we doing more? We aren't people rioting, and they timed me up because I was encouraging violence. Well, I mean, what's encouraging violence? Resisting an oppressive regime that is harming and targeting children, or the regime that is oppressing people, invading our cities, and harming and targeting children, right? Which one of those things is violence?
The Lancet Medical Journal researchers found there were over 75,000 violent deaths in the first 16 months of Israel's assault. That compares to the roughly 49,000 deaths reported by the Palestinian Health Ministry over that period. More than half of those killed in the Israeli strikes were women, seniors, or children.
Yeah, but that study is contrary to the other studies that have been done that suggest that hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have been slaughtered and ethnically cleansed from their lands by Israel. And the fact that there are thousands of Palestinians who were literally vaporized because America wanted to test thermonucleic, I don't even know what that's actually called, but thermonucleic weapons, which get so hot that they actually incinerate bone. And Israel was more than happy to test them. And on top of the fact that there are however many bloodlines that were completely erased or reduced down to one, which heavily suggests significantly more than 70,000 people dead.
Palestinian photographer Mariam Daga has won a 2026 George Polk Award for photojournalism for her work documenting Israel's starvation campaign against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Daga was awarded the prize posthumously after she was killed last August when Israel's military bombed Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. She died in a second strike on the hospital alongside Palestinian journalists Moaz Abu Taha and Mohammed Salama.
And again, she died in a hospital strike, the second one. So a hospital, which should never be targeted, was struck by Israel not once, but twice at least. And that second strike is what killed a journalist, which is also not a lawful target in any legal capacity anywhere in the world. And we're still debating whether or not Israel is justified in defending itself. It's like, look at what happened to us in the Holocaust. It was terrible. Yes, it was, but you're doing the same thing. I mean, that's literally the point. That is the entire point. What Israel is doing to Palestinians is what the Germans did to the Jewish people. However, Israel isn't comprised of Holocaust survivors. It's comprised of Zionists. I think 70% of the population or something like that is literally non-Middle Eastern, is literally European, dual citizens from another country. 70% of Israel isn't even Jewish or Palestinian that got transferred. Literally, a majority of Israel are Europeans, Americans, Canadians, and Australians. So they can't even actually argue that they're the descendants of Holocaust survivors because an overwhelming majority of them aren't.
After they rushed to the scene of Israel's initial attack. In Moscow, Cuba's foreign minister met Wednesday with top Russian officials, including Russian President Vladimir Putin, who pledged his support to the island nation. Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, urged the U.S. to end its blockade and oil embargo, which has left Cuba facing blackouts and severe fuel shortages. This is Cuba's foreign minister, Bruno Rodriguez.
So Cuba went to Russia for help, and the whole blockade that began against Cuba was immediately after the Cuban Missile Crisis, or which directly led to the... No. The blockade was after the Cuban Missile Crisis, after Russia pulled away. But, like, from that point forward, it was a complete blockade. And now they're going back. Like, are we just trying to find new and more imaginative ways to rehash various parts of history? Like, World War II wasn't bad enough the first time around. We have to try it again, except this time from the Middle East. The Cold War wasn't bad enough, and the Cuban Missile Crisis wasn't bad enough. We got to spark that one off again. Oh, and it wasn't enough that we did regime change in Iran like 1,000 times, or attempted to do it at least 1,000 times. Let's do it again and see if it sticks. Except because now we have more Middle Eastern countries backing us because they're joining the League of Villains. Like, every bad piece of history, every bad chapter of history is literally being reopened and rewritten for modern times. And we are just literally like, guess I'll go to work and pay taxes and then yell at people on Facebook because there's nothing else that can be done, like a general strike, protesting, running for office, helping those who are, helping organize. Literally, there are thousands of things we could be doing as a society other than business as usual. But I guess there isn't enough people taking the stand and paving the way forward to inspire others to do so. So I guess right up until the boots come marching down our streets, we're gonna just go to work and pay our taxes.
We share a great concern about the deterioration of the international order, which was already unjust and precarious, but which today is being replaced by the practices of the United States government through operations of plunder and occupation of natural resources, total transgression of international law, and ignorance of the United Nations, which threatens not only the current order, multilateralism, the United Nations and others, but also the sovereignty and security of all states without exception.
The Department of Homeland Security's...
Wait, so what did Russia respond? Hello? Hello? I get that Cuba's upset and they're asking Russia for help, but what did Russia say? I know she said that Russia's committed to helping, but in what way? Is Russia going to send warships to Cuba? Because if that's the case, we are right back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like, can we flesh that point out a little bit more? Yeah, no kidding, right? I feel like I could use a nap too.
Launching a nationwide campaign to investigate and prosecute naturalized citizens who registered to vote or voted illegally prior to becoming citizens. That's according to documents reviewed by MS Now. The initiative reportedly requires DHS investigators to submit reports to the White House detailing each case in which they declined to bring charges. Two current and former DHS officials told MS Now that the White House directive is, quote, not normal. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller is reportedly the driving force behind the DHS investigation.
Yeah, Stephen Miller really wants to make sure his name is engraved in history alongside Hitler and his merry band of misfits. But again, every study that has been done about electoral fraud, voter fraud, no matter what direction it takes, just fraud in general, whether it's immigrants voting that shouldn't be voting, whether it's some other discrepancies, every single study exonerates immigrants and exonerates liberals. And it almost always points to conservatives trying to rig elections in the favor of their preferred candidate. And it's mind-boggling because once they discover that it's their own team, they immediately squash it and bury it. But for the weeks and the months leading up to that result, they are just pushing forward this narrative through the news cycle, and the news cycle parrots it without any scrutiny or any context or any pushback whatsoever. The administration is doing this, Republicans are saying this, without any thought of addressing the false equivalency, the lies, the misinformation, the fear-mongering, any of it. It's just, nope, we're just going to repeat what they say because that's what journalism is. It's insane. It's literally contributing to the voter disenfranchisement and apathy that permeates in our nation. Ridiculous.
The Trump administration is preparing to roll back limits on levels of toxic mercury pollution from coal-fired power plants. The New York Times reports top EPA officials will announce the rollback during a visit to Louisville, Kentucky on Friday. The World Health Organization considers mercury one of its top 10 chemicals of major public health concern, and even small amounts can cause serious health problems, especially in utero and in children.
So mercury, which has been known to be toxic for 80 plus years, and the protections that arose because of it are being rolled back by this regime because why? Why are we relying? First of all, why do we need to use mercury in the first place? Like, that's the first question. Why do we need to use mercury? And secondly, if there is a reason, why wouldn't we want to protect ourselves from it? Because if that shit gets into the air, the atmosphere, the land, the water, it's going to kill everybody equally. Just because you're rich or a CEO doesn't change the fact that you will die from mercury exposure. Like, that's why we don't use mercury in thermometers anymore. Because it was dangerous. So there's no fucking reason to bring it back. What are we going to do next? Bring back asbestos? Like, are we serious right now? The Heritage Foundation was trying to prove that illegal immigrants voting was rampant. Their own study found less than 75 cases over a decade. So even the highest number is less than 10 cases per year. Exactly. Among the fact that the Heritage Foundation was also a key player in generating the Project 2025, which has been executed all but in full. I mean, I guess we would have to pull up the Project 2025 and go through it, but I can't imagine that there's much left to be done other than re-enslaving black people and genociding 200 million Americans so we only have a white supremacist ethno-state left over. I mean, that's pretty much the only things left to do.
Meanwhile, a coalition of public health and environmental groups filed a lawsuit in federal court Wednesday seeking to block President Trump's rollback of the 2009 endangerment finding, which enabled the EPA to regulate greenhouse gases under the Clean Air Act. In a separate petition, 18 children and young adults also sued the EPA, arguing the burning of fossil fuels is denying them their constitutional rights to life and liberty. Which, I mean,
that's a bit of a stretch. I'm not going to argue that. I mean, because you would have to show legal grounds for that. Burning fossil fuels directly contributes to these 18 individuals not being able to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. Because the fact that it's impacting the environment means it's impacting the earth, not them individually. Therefore, there's no grounds, right? That's how the criminal justice system operates. They will find loopholes or linguistic loopholes to make poor people suffer and shut the fuck up. And meanwhile, bend over backwards for those same exact linguistic loopholes to allow these companies and industries or governments to roll back protections and destroy our entire ecosystem. Yeah, that's exactly what he wanted to do this entire time. I told people about P 2025 and they said it isn't real and he has much more important things to do. Those were his important things to do. It was literally, you can't even find it on the internet, but it was literally throughout the internet all up until he got elected. And then it mysteriously disappeared from the internet. We still have copies in our Google Drive, but like, it's nuts that, you know, it's gone and nobody wants to talk about it and they want to treat it as a conspiracy, which it isn't.
Petitioner Elena Venner wrote, quote, "My Catholic faith teaches me to care for all life and protect the most vulnerable, and it teaches that children are a gift. I now struggle to imagine bringing a child into a world where the air is unsafe and the climate is increasingly unstable," she said.
And you know what's even crazier? My Catholic faith teaches me to care for all life and protect the most vulnerable, and it teaches that children are a gift. Okay? Her faith. Religious faith. Meanwhile, Trump and his entire administration are in the Epstein Files. Assaulting children. Eating children. Murdering children. Why is the entire Catholic assembly that's in the United States, or the Mormon Church, or I don't know, any religious practitioners, whether they're Muslim, Buddhist, Jewish, what have you, why is, for all of this talk about religious freedom and tax protections and this, that, and the other, and it's my rights, it's my beliefs, it's my values, where are all of these faith leaders? And why aren't they combining their efforts for a class action lawsuit against this regime for gross violation of their religious beliefs. Like, that would be pretty fucking epic to me, but it's definitely not happening. Like, all religion is against this. And you know what's crazy about that? That actually includes Satanism, by the way. That actually includes Satanism. Let's see, is there a table of contents in this? I think there is. So, there is theory, and then there is ethics. So let's see, page 41. Let's just start there. Okay, so conversely, deeds committed that go against these principles could not, even if done in the name... All right, hold on. So, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines ethic as a set of moral principles, a theory or system of moral values, or a guiding philosophy. By this definition, satanic ethics would then be the guiding philosophy of or conduct governing Satanism. There is an inherent contradiction in that, however, as Satanism is a faith devoted to independent will and personal principles of conduct. Okay, so maybe Satanism is not actually, surprisingly, enough of that. Rather than treading the charlatan's path and seeking to discern and disseminate the true will of Satan, satanic ethics dictate becoming a champion of independent will and a guardian of free thought, free speech, and freedom. Which is ironic when you think about it, because you're arguing... Okay, so anyway, I guess Satanism doesn't intrinsically support children. Which I actually was under the impression that it did, because children are considered innocent. And since this is a paper book, I can't exactly do Control F and search for that. So, unfortunately, that's not it. And I'm not very well versed in this book. I obviously have like things that I took notes on. I don't even remember what that was about. Okay, so this one is a meditation. What's this? More meditation. Oh, so I just highlighted all the meditation things. I guess I was really digging deep to find different meditations. And it's funny because in this book, it talks about chakra. Continue breathing speed into the chakra until the extensions and core chakra meld into one voracious tornado of energy absorption and direction, which is how a lot of meditation is actually described when they discuss chakra. It's supposed to be, it's usually a lot of, like New Age spiritualism, visualize your chakras and as a cone of energy, and even the Book of Satan does that. So anyway, I guess my point that I went on a tangent off of wasn't quite in the Book of Satan, but children are held to a standard of innocence across most religions. So most religions should be able to unite under that philosophy of our dear leader is implicated 38,000 times at least for committing crimes against children, among many other things, which is in gross violation of the law, but also most people's religious beliefs. So, like, why is that not an argument that's being made? Is my question. I'm sure the Satanist Bible is online. It probably is, but I don't have the link for it. Meditation is good, and it's typically supposed to center you and make you not want to eat children. Literally, so.
Seb. In New York, NYU Langone Health has announced it will close its trans youth health program forcing transgender teens who are currently receiving gender-affirming care at the hospital system to seek treatment elsewhere. This comes as the Trump administration's threatened to cut federal funding from hospitals that provide hormone treatments or puberty blockers to minors.
Which is even more egregious when you think about it, because federal funding is the foundation of all of our healthcare systems, and we still have health insurance despite that. Meaning, we actually have the funding and infrastructure for universal healthcare, and we are still commoditizing it anyway. And now Trump is using that as a weapon to harm hospitals that would be offering treatment to everybody because they're offering treatment to transgender youth. Now, here's the worst part. The war on transgender individuals is again rooted in the decision and planning machinations found within the Epstein Files, meaning the Epstein cult generated the anti-trans movement solely and for the express purpose of forcing trans people into dire financial straits and desperation so that they would turn to sex work so that they could be kidnapped and used on the island. Again, not my opinion, most certainly not my fucking words. That is verbatim from the Epstein Files. And so, not only is Project 2025 being executed, which is egregious, but you have the Epstein cult initiatives being carried out as well by this administration. And we're just sitting here talking about it. And oftentimes, the news isn't even doing a good job of talking about it.
New York State Senator Eric Botcher said, quote, healthcare decisions should be made by doctors, patients, and families, not by politicians weaponizing funding to push an extreme ideological agenda, unquote.
That was deliberately and explicitly outlined in the Epstein Files. Like, the fact that almost every horrible decision that is coming out of Trump's mouth is either directly or implicitly derived from the Epstein Files should be the number one talking point about everything coming out of this administration. Everything. They should be saying that you're weaponizing healthcare at the behest of the Epstein cult. That it was verbatim listed from the Epstein Files. Oh, you're trying to wage war with Iran because the Epstein Files and the Epstein cult was discussing how to cause geopolitical unrest to ensure American and Israeli dominance in regions. Like, almost everything, and I have to assume that there are some things that aren't, like maybe the nuclear treaties dissipating. I'm pretty sure nobody, even Epstein cultists, didn't want nuclear war or nuclear weapons proliferation. So maybe that was just love of the game by Trump and his incompetence. But many of the major policies, the division, the rise of right-wing conservatism, like the ultra-right conservatism, the anti-trans messaging, that literally all stems from the Epstein Files and the people talking about that shit behind the scenes. Literally. Not figuratively, literally. Puberty blockers are reversible, which, you know, you don't expect these cultists to actually discuss nuance, do you? I know quite a few children who got treatment there, which makes it even worse because that means there's 0 steps of separation. Epstein is connected to my rights. Holy fuck, I'm so exhausted. Yeah, no, he legitimately is. And if you're a woman, he is directly connected to why you being targeted by men has become so normalized in the past few decades. I think this goes for saying for everyone, I just want to live in peace. And that is true. Most people do want to live in peace. But most people are unwilling to fight for peace. They want to live in it, but they don't want to go through the activities that will ensure peace is had, right? Because again, people are easily misled. We are a herd species, like, believe it or not. I mean, maybe that's not entirely true, but we are community-based. And so we are easily swayed as a community. And the problem is we are an extremely fearful species on top of that. So if you instill fear in our minds and our hearts, we are willing to do whatever you say to get that fear away from us. And we seriously need to get past that. It's no longer the Ice Age where we aren't the top of the food chain. It's no longer the Bronze Age where we're still not top of the food chain. It's no longer the Middle Ages where we're at the top of the food chain, but we're still trying to figure out how the world works. This is modern times. We have the technology to explore the our solar system at the very least. We have the technology to end world hunger, to end water shortages, and to prevent our ecosystems from collapsing. We have all of these capabilities to live in peace. And what are we doing? We're allowing several hundred pedophile cultists and several thousand billionaires to rape, pillage, and plunder every single facet of our lives and society and our planet so that they can control more of it. What are we fucking doing? Like, there are 900 and some odd billionaires in the United States. Divide that by 50, that's about 40 per state. We could literally hang 40 billionaires in every state, and it would barely take any investment whatsoever to build the scaffolding and the rope. Like, we do not have to be beholden to billionaires, to pedophiles, to literally any of these so-called elites, because they aren't. Because we outnumber them literally millions to one. And the fact that we are just burying our heads in the sand and being led around by our nose is very disconcerting. We are literally going to allow ourselves to be led off a cliff to our own deaths because we're too fearful about rocking the boat and going against the norm. The norm should be standing our ground against oppression. That is literally what our country was founded upon. And instead, we have this. It's always exploitation. That is exactly true. Even your favorite billionaire.
According to Stat News, more than 40 hospitals nationwide have paused or ceased to offer some type of gender-affirming care to trans youth since President Trump returned to office. South Korea's former president, Yoon Suk-yeol, has been sentenced to life in prison with hard labor after a court in Seoul found...
Oh, see, I always saw the life in prison. I didn't know that it was with hard labor. That's awesome. He's going to be 90 years old with a sledgehammer making big rocks into small rocks. Now that's pretty good. I mean, execution would be better, but life in prison with hard labor, that's pretty good.
Him guilty of leading an insurrection during a failed attempt to declare martial law last December 2024.
Now, imagine if our own justice system, our own Supreme Court would be willing to hold our administration accountable for its myriad crimes and attempts at violating the Constitution, which it has repeatedly, by the way. I still, again, I wouldn't advocate for life, hard labor or otherwise. I would not advocate for life. I would advocate for the death penalty and by hanging, if at all possible, because that is a traitor's death. That being said, I would settle for life and hard labor.
In a verdict broadcast on live TV, a judge found Yoon unlawfully tried to send troops into South Korea's National Assembly to arrest key figures, including the Assembly Speaker and party leaders. Yoon had faced a possible death sentence. And in California, 8 backcountry skiers have been found dead after an avalanche near Lake Tahoe. A 9th skier is still missing, but is also presumed to be dead.
Damn.
It's the deadliest avalanche in California history. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy.
Yeah, those were very bleak headlines, except for the South Korea. That was pretty fucking enjoyable, not gonna lie. Everyone loves T Swift. She's still not an ethical billionaire if she's your comfort artist. No, that's true. I love Riri. She's now a billionaire. Guess what? She still gets the gilly. Hey, but we'll give Riri a chance to spend that money and redistribute it, okay? We will give her a chance. Also, I just don't like Taylor Swift. That tends to make people mad. She just isn't my type of music. I don't know. She's got some catchy tunes, and she has been memified quite a bit. So I'm hey, it's me, the problem, it's me. I mean, that was a pretty good song. Of course, if we played Taylor Swift on the stream, she would probably crash her jet into the White House and arrest me for copyright or royalties or some bullshit. Okay. All right, okay, that was our first video. Let's move down the list.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We turn now to look at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Okay, I do have a question, and maybe my viewers in chat can answer this question. Should I be doing all of my videos with an intro? I'm Samuel Ronan, www.samronan, or no. I'm Samuel Ronan, samuelronan.com. Today we are going to be discussing this, or my name is Samuel Ronan, samronan.com. I'm running for Congress, and what we're seeing happening in the world today is batshit insane. Da-da-da-da-da. Should I be doing that, I wonder? Well, well, Anna supports it. Okay. Sci-Fi supports it. Well, maybe we'll give it a shot then. Maybe this weekend I'll have some time and opportunity. We actually have a couple of protests to go to, so maybe I can find some time or be tomorrow and take care of some business.
CFPB, the agency the Trump administration's been trying to dismantle for over a year. Last week, it fired program manager Alexis Goldstein for documenting a meeting a year ago between the agency and Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. That's according to emails obtained by Bloomberg News. For more, we're joined now from Washington, D.C. by Alexis Goldstein, longtime financial regulatory expert who once worked on
You know what? I could see it. I could see her being a financial expert. She has the vibe, right? Those glasses, like, and the haircut, it's like, no, she knows her shit about numbers. Like, you don't want to try and pull the wool over this lady's eyes. No, I could see it. Well, so here's the thing, right? Content creation tips. There are so many tips that they give you, right? And there's so many things that you're supposed to do, and it's so hard to figure out whether or not you're doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether it's the thumbnail, whether it's the title, it seems to change week by week, month by month. So it's like, for somebody like me who's not social media savvy in the first place, and then not particularly vested in it, other than the fact that it's necessary, it's a hard thing to keep up with. So I can always give it a whirl and, try and do a few videos and see if it works on the algorithm.
Wall Street before becoming involved with the Occupy Wall Street movement. Alexis, welcome back to Democracy.
So she was part of the Occupy movement? Anna, we need to get a hold of this lady. I bet for certain, well, maybe not for certain, but if she would be willing to work with us, we would, I think, get along quite well.
Democracy Now! Can you explain exactly what happened a year ago with these DOGE temporary workers coming into your agency?
So on February 7th of 2025, we had just seen the dismantling of USAID. A wrecking ball was taken to that agency, and it became clear that the second agency that was going to be attacked by this administration was the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So I came in like I normally do. I drop off my toddler at daycare. There isn't stroller parking, so I wheel in my stroller, my empty stroller, to the CFPB headquarters in Washington, D.C., and I was wheeling my stroller around the basement. And I noticed a number of people who I had never seen before who were not wearing the required CFPB badges. and they were accessing what appeared to be CFPB equipment. So I wanted to take a closer look. I wanted to try and investigate. We are told over and over again that we are supposed to report suspicious activities, that we are supposed to defend the sensitive data that we hold of American people. Millions of people trust us with their vulnerable moments if they're scammed by their financial company, if they're having trouble with their mortgage. The technical term we use for it is personally identifying information, and we have a lot of very specific training about how to handle it. And so I was very concerned that the people that I had never seen before were there, appeared to have CFPB equipment. So I tried to take a look. They moved from one conference room to the other when they saw me into a conference room that didn't have a window. And so I decided to go into that conference room. I ran into a coworker of mine. I asked him if there were Doge folks in the room. He declined to answer. So I opened the door and introduced.
What a fucking piece of shit. So so let's paint a picture here. This lady, a professional, a federal employee who's in charge of protecting PII, comes into the office and sees suspicious people hacking away at a computer. She is a woman. I don't know if she's a petite woman. I don't know if she's tall. I don't know if she goes to the gym and can bench 250. Typically, women are smaller than men and not as strong. And therefore, a woman confronting a group of people who are suspicious is more than likely going to seek help. So what does she do? She seeks help from a male coworker who is apparently a traitor. And once we find out who the fuck that is, he's getting the same fucking treatment as Musk and the rest of them. But I digress. She approaches this male coworker, and instead of being a mensch, a man, an actual support, like, hell, doing his fucking job. Yes, you're right, they are suspicious. You and I should do something about it. Let's round up a few more of our employees and confront this group. No, he just fucks right off and allows this woman to approach these unknown people on her own. Granted, we know that they're Doge. Granted, we know that everything that's going on is very, very, very not legal. But this poor lady is now forced to do it on her own. And the fact that she has the... Look at her face! First of all, okay, maybe she didn't need backup because that's terrifying. Like, I kind of should probably, like, switch it to a different... There we go. Less scary. Nope, still scary. Nope, even scarier. Okay, I'm just intimidated by this lady. That's fine. She has, obviously, aura, right? Her and Sung Jin Woo have some serious aura farming under their belt, right? But she still approached these unknown, suspicious people by herself. Like, thank you for being a public service member. Like, that is a public servant right there. And now she's running for Congress. Like, I sincerely wish whatever she runs for, like whatever party, whoever she's up against, I hope she wins. Because that kind of spine right there, that kind of not backing down is exactly what we need in Congress. I would love to work with this woman.
If there were Doge folks in the room, he declined to answer. So I opened the door and introduced myself. And I said, "Hi, are you my new coworker? What's your name? Can I show you around? We have a nice rooftop." And there were 3 individuals in the room. One I now know to be Jordan Wick. He immediately ran away out of the room. The second was Jeremy Lewin, who was a big part of dismantling USAID. He immediately went into the corner of the room. And then the third Doge individual was Christopher Young. I didn't know any of this at the time. I just asked them what their name was. They refused to give me their name. They said that they were authorized to be there, but they didn't have to tell me their name. And I said, we have a lot of really sensitive information.
Short answer is yes, they do have to give you your name. Because if you're authorized to be there, you should be verified that you're authorized to be there. Because otherwise, what's stopping me from walking into any federal agency with my chest out and confidence and say, no, I'm allowed to be here, fuck off? Like, no. Immediate grounds for arrest. So the audacity that this administration has and had in the past that they can just do whatever they want because they're present is fucking insane. And every single one of them needs to be in prison or getting the same treatment as the administration once they finally get their accountability.
And data from Americans, we have personally identifying information. Do you know the trainings that we have to take in order to handle this? Have you had
Right. Do you know the processes? Do you know the procedures?
those trainings? Do you know what those trainings are? And they just stared at me blankly and said that they wished that security would come and kick me out of the building.
Which is insane because security should be kicking them out of the building.
A couple minutes passed where I continued to try to ask them their name. They refused to answer. A security guard did come down, asked me to leave the room. I immediately left the room.
Hold on. A security guard did show up and then removed her, the actual only person that should have been there? Are you fucking kidding? So, man. Ugh.
Did my CFPB badge, which I had. These individuals did not have CFPB badges. And I asked the security guard, who are these individuals? Are they authorized to be here? What are they doing? I see they appear to have a CFPB laptop. And the security guard didn't know what to do, so he just turned away from me and got on the phone. And so I eventually walked away. I left of my own accord. And then later that day, I got an email saying I was immediately being placed on administrative leave and I was not to enter our headquarters in Washington, D.C., nor access any work systems. And
the fuck? I don't know what she did, and she's probably going to let us know what she did. But the first thing I would do is print out that email, forward it to every single news network in the country, and go to whatever the closest news station was and be like, this is happening. This is egregious violations of policy and federal everything. And I want to talk about it because that is batshit insane.
I have been on admin leave ever since until I was fired last week.
And Alexis, your termination is the latest escalation between staff at CFPB and the Trump administration. How has the agency been effectively dismantled as you see it?
So the CFPB doesn't cost the public a single dollar, but has returned $21 billion to consumers in its short lifespan in the form of relief and restitution. I think that made us a big target. We do a lot of good. We don't cost the public a single dollar. So one of the first things that happened actually later that day was Elon Musk tweeted RIP CFPB. An email went out over the weekend saying that everyone, not just me, but everyone was banned from going to our headquarters building. We were ordered to stop all work. And then they began slowly over the coming weeks to dismiss our lawsuits, over 20 lawsuits against financial firms, including firms like Navy Federal, who had already agreed to a settlement to give $80 million back to consumers. That money never went back to consumers. And these lawsuits were dismissed with prejudice, which means that we can never bring up those lawsuits again.
Au contraire, because your next congressman, Samuel Ronan, is going to ensure that legislation gets passed to undo the harm that was done by Doge. Honestly, one of the things I think we need to do the most is confirm whether or not the elections were in fact rigged, because there was credible claims made by the president and Elon Musk saying that they had control over the elections through their electoral voting machines. Now, that isn't to say that we would just roll back everything that's happened and give it to Kamala. I mean, that's a whole different can of worms. I mean, we're talking a massive, massive constitutional crisis at that point, right? Like, we would have to hold a snap election or something along those lines, right? But to say that, oh, they were dismissed with prejudice by the billionaire who was not authorized, was not sanctioned by Congress to do any of this shit, did not have the clearance nor the qualifications to purge our institutions, and somehow our criminal justice system is like, well, I guess you can never go after the corporations ever again. Shucks. Nope. That's not how that works. That is not how that works. I'm just saying that right now.
The supervisors, so as Amy mentioned, I got my start on Wall Street before, during, and after the 2008 financial crisis. And part of the reason the CFPB was created by Congress is because Congress felt the other regulators fell down on the job. And there needed to be a single agency to protect people from predatory scams and discrimination in lending. And they created the CFPB for that reason. And so we regulate the nation's biggest banks. And we are normally, in normal times, we have supervisors who go and sit inside the nation's biggest banks. One of the first things the Trump administration did is sent all the supervisors home and told them to stop showing up to work. And so essentially no one is watching the biggest banks. There's no one trying to enforce the 18 different laws that the CFPB oversees.
So, Alexis,
and it's just been...
So, Alexis, yes. Then what are your plans now?
That's, I mean, corruption, collusion, undermining our institutions, undermining the Constitution. Like, hello? Why is this regime still in power? Why have they not been toppled? Why have we not forced their resignations through, what is it? Continuous, sustained protests and demonstrations. This is insane. I actually missed Occupy Wall Street because I was at Norway at the time and I wanted to be in New York so badly. I mean, I can't blame you. I was in high school and not politically aware of anything. That was my problem. So I was just reading that she got fired last week over this confrontation that happened a year ago and was on admin leave. The thing is, though, she was getting paid this whole time, so I mean, good for her. But yeah, she got fired last week, and again, this is all in conjunction with the corruption that began last year, about this time last year.
So I'm trying to turn lemons into lemonade, and I'm running for the House of Representatives in Maryland's 6th District. It's a slightly crowded race. There's two mega millionaires that are already running in the Democratic primary, April McLean Delaney and David Trone. But I think that the people of the 6th District deserve someone who's going to fight to build libraries, not ICE jails, like the detention center they're trying to build in Hagerstown, Maryland, that's going to fight to fund schools, not data centers that are giveaways to big tech. And I think that the district has shown enormous bravery, the residents there, in standing up for their neighbors. And I think that Maryland 6 deserves a representative that shows the same amount of bravery as ordinary people. I'm not doing this as a vanity project. I'm doing this because I want to fight against fascism in America.
Maryland's 6th District, you're fucking stupid if you don't vote for Alexis Goldstein in the primary. Granted, it's Maryland, so they are one of the most blue states in America, right? She might even be able to run unopposed as a Republican. I don't know how crowded that is. We can look real quick. That would be kind of fun. Oh, yeah, and that still bothers me. I thought for sure AOC was much younger than me, right? You have to be at least 25 years old to run for Congress. Okay, so I'm 36 now. 8 years ago, 28. Yeah, I thought she was 25 or 26 when she ran. Because I was 27, 28 when I ran. So whatever, I guess. Whatever. Okay. Maryland's 6th Congressional District primary candidates 2026. Ballotpedia. Yeah, that's a good one. Shut up. Go away. All right. Well, it hasn't shown her yet, and there is 3 others in the Republican. So I guess it's just, well, which one is the, is there an incumbent? Usually they talk about if there's an incumbent. So those are the districts. Okay, so hold on. Filing deadline is February 24th, 2026. Oi! Alexis! You need to get your signatures, lady. If you want to get on this thing, you have until... What is that? The 26th? Is that what I just said? No, the 24th. You have until literally Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, to get on the ballot. So, like, let's get this show on the road, huh? But who is currently in it? Let's see. Current Maryland's 6th District Representative. April Delaney? So wait a second. Why doesn't it say incumbent? Oh, I'm stupid. Never mind. I can't read. Right. Well, okay then. I am endorsing Alexis Goldstein. I am endorsing her, and she has until Tuesday to get her signatures. She just declared today. I hope she's been gathering signatures because she really needs to. Also, if Democracy Now! Is willing to do interviews for people like this, shouldn't they be willing to do interviews with me? Can we reach out to Amy Goodman and Democracy Now! The War and Peace Report? I think we should. Have we? Have they told us to fuck off? Is that what it is? Because we're Republican? Is that what it is? It might be. True. Let's do that. Well, I guess that shouldn't have mattered because she's currently not on the ballot and she just announced, but whatever. Okay. Oh, see, you have to make your request a spicier. Be like, Samuel's going against Mike Carey, who took Les Wexner money and is an oil lobbyist in Ohio that's a huge Trump supporter and voted for ICE and coal and this, that, and the other. And Sam, who was a DNC chair candidate in 2016, immediately turned his back on the Democratic Party for betraying the American people and has been running as a Republican ever since, right? That's what you got to do. You got to make it spicy. Yeah.
Speaking of love, Ryan, Mamdani, beloved by all, the man of the people.
Do we have any polling on him? That guy's just killing it. Like, the funny thing about a mayor is that, like, the job is to be hated, and he'll get there.
I was going to say.
Give him time.
Yeah.
He's only been there 6 weeks, 7 weeks at this point. Usually, a mayor by this point can't walk outside Gracie Mansion without getting heckled. But if we put up, I think it's the third element, the news now is that Mamdani is going to be able to appoint a majority of people on the Rent Guidelines Board, which will then allow him to enact one of his most...
Well, here's the joke, right? He can appoint a majority of the Rent Guidelines Board, but if he appoints them and they decide to not support him, guess what still happens? Or if they turn around and accept bribes, which is possible, it is New York. I'm just saying, like, before we start singing praises and jumping for joy, let's let things play out first.
Prominent and most criticized campaign promises, which is to freeze the rent. And this is
Yeah, and that is a little frustrating too. We haven't done anything noteworthy since running for DNC chair, and she didn't interview me then either. But, like, I'm sorry that I'm just a regular guy running for Congress during the worst chapter of American history. Like, my bad for not being a former muckety-muck, but I'm still trying my utmost to, go against the grain. Like, fuck me for just being a regular guy. My bad. And fuck me for trying to get a little bit of recognition and airtime to make my case, right? Even our friend Naomi Combs became corrupt after running for office in New York City, which is true. Naomi Combs actually broke my story when I ran for DNC chair. I met her at the Future Forum in Arizona. And she was like, what? Okay, well, here we go. Here's your 5 minutes to make your pitch. Thank you, Nomi Konst. But yes, it is also unfortunate that she has fallen to the wayside. But it is what it is, I guess. I mean, I don't know. So, Grim is talking, so we're going to move right along. Oh, let's see if Grim's talking on this one. He might be. And we're waiting.
Meanwhile, we're still technically in a
is,
government
our boy.
shutdown, Ryan.
Yes, Democrats, I think you got to give them their flowers for like effectively maneuvering enough government funding through that. Remember, we were saying like this was their goal, and they were pretty clear about it, and Republicans let them do it. Mm-hmm. What they did is they got government funding for everything except Homeland Security. And so then when Homeland Security came up, they're like, no, we're not doing that. Partly, I think it's the senators and the House members were so proud of themselves for getting appropriations bills through regular order that they couldn't resist passing them through the House and Senate. Because they haven't done that in like 20 years or something like that.
That's a wild theory.
And Democrats are like, yeah, go do that. Go ahead. And now, when with the government funded other than Homeland Security, Democrats are sitting with all.
So here's my theory. It's funny because the brownie is very moist, not dry. And it's like caught right in my vocal cords. Okay, I think I'm good. I look like I just got waterboarded. Hold on. All right, sorry about coughing in everybody's ear. The assassin brownie has failed. Get fucked, CIA. All right. I want to make Ryan Grimm our press secretary. I want him to be, what's her name? It's not Pam Bondi. She's the Attorney General. Who's the blonde lady that is the press secretary? Or if she isn't the press secretary, she's the one that Caroline Levitt, right? Okay. I want him to be Caroline Levitt for our administration. Because he'll talk great. He'll deliver the message and whatever, right? Really, really well. But journalists will get really upset and not ask him questions because he'll take a very long time answering them well, but take a very long time. So journalists are going to be like, I do have to pick up my kid from soccer practice sometime today, shit. That's what I was trying to say, and maybe that was God punishing me, or Satan punishing me for trying to be cheeky while eating a brownie.
All the leverage.
Well, and yeah, let's just set the table a little bit. Dave Chappelle, let's put this up on the screen, was in Minnesota yesterday and visited a memorial to Alex Pratty. This, of course, the reason Democrats feel fully confident pushing this shutdown is because the party's base, is absolutely demanding action against DHS and ICE after the violent January in Minneapolis. And so the fallout from that...
Okay, but Democratic voters are also demanding to impeach Trump, stop the genocide in Palestine, fund our schools, fund our hospitals, build our roads. Like, Democrats are arguing for an exact polar shift of what we currently got, to include getting money out of politics and getting billionaires out of our politics especially. So Democrats are just championing one of those things, the lowest hanging fruit, which is going after DHS, which is murdering people, which is the easiest low-hanging fruit. Like, Democrats have had the opportunity to put an end to this administration's goals and ideology from day one and refuse to do so. Now that they're maybe finally somewhat pushing back against DHS, that's being conveyed as like a Democratic victory. That there is no way that Democratic polling is still in the gutter. Let's see. What the fuck? Oh my God, can I type? Recent polling on public opinion of Democrats. Right? Democrats, and that's from The Hill and the Associated Press. So, many Democrats are still down on their party after 2024. Percent who have a favorable or unfavorable opinion. Okay. I guess 70% of Democrats. That's not. How could Democrats be polling at 18% if Democrats themselves are polling at 70? That doesn't make sense, does it? 67% favorability? What? No. What? Did we not just watch the CNN poll where he was showing that Democrats were like in the absolute gutter? A new Associated Press poll shows otherwise, and everybody's jumping on it because... Okay. Let's do CNN then. Well, that's March. Okay. So March... So the favorability rating is at 29% as of March. Okay. And even this favorability is a lot higher than what, caused Quinnipiac or whatever it was. All right, so I wasn't asking the right questions. Okay. Democrat favorability polling, CNN, February 2026. Thank you for the follow. Papapoyo. All right, well, I guess January 18th. Oh, wait. No, yeah, January 18th. Midterms. Okay. The Democratic Party, January 18th, 2026, has a deeply motivated base and clear advantage on generic congressional ballot ahead of the midterms. Registered voters are far more motivated than Republicans, while the party has a 5-point edge on the generic ballot. Among those who say they're deeply motivated, the advantage is 16. Enter this year with a chance to capitalize on public dissatisfaction. CNN's poll found a majority of Americans consider the first year of Trump's second term to be a failure, with just 29% of opinion. Okay. Approval for congressional Democratic leaders stands at just 28%, below the 35% figure for their Republican counterparts. And that's my point. So I don't know where the Associated Press came up with their number. I don't get that. So it went from 28% to 70% in 30 days. So, like, where's the huge dip right here? Because this would be, what, October? Oh, so by quarters. They're doing it by quarters. Like, or did they... Oh, no. So, wait. They were doing it monthly. And then they skip. So they do monthly where it kind of looks in their favor. And then they just skip otherwise. Like, look at this biased poll. So, okay. Do you get my point? Like, do you get my point? Like, this is not... this is not accurate polling information. Right? And I'm not saying because this is actual... whatchamacallit? Like, it is in line with my statements or my reasoning. But you don't, like, this is a completely different number. 28% versus 70%. Like, that is, and even if you averaged that out, 70, 20, and 10 divided by 3, right? Is that what that would be? So 70 plus 20 plus 10 divided by 3 is 33%. Oh, because that's 100. I just I don't know what, you know what I mean? Like, that just, even if you extrapolate the information from this and take an average, it's still 5 points higher than what is very clearly being conveyed in all other polls. So, anywho, yeah. Hello from Singapore. Welcome to the stream. My name is Kirby. Welcome to the stream from Singapore. I don't know that we're going to cover Singapore today, but you are still more than welcome to be here. So, polls are showing midterm wipeout.
Want masked gunmen walking around the street.
This 89 points. The Trump voters mostly stick by the Republicans, but by a significantly smaller margin, by 83 points. This means that
significant. That's less than 10% difference.
The Democratic base that voted for Kamala Harris is sticking with those congressional Democratic candidates to a much greater degree than those Trump voters are sticking with the Republican candidates for Congress. And that is why what you're seeing on that generic congressional ballot is Democrats leaping ahead by this point by about 5 points, because at least at this point, the Trump voters are not sticking by the Republicans as much as the Harris voters are sticking by the Democrats. Voters' choice for election for the 2026 congressional elections. If they didn't vote in 2024, look at this. Democrats are winning that vote by a significant margin, by 16 percentage points. So you add onto that the Harris voters sticking with the Democratic candidates. All of a sudden you see, hey, this is the way that Democrats are going to get back their congressional majority. And more than that, I will note that in 2024, of course, the Trump voters, or the people who voted for Trump, he actually won a larger share of those non-2020 voters. It's not just the House, it's the Senate as well. Democrats' chance to win the Senate a year ago was 19%, according to Kalshi, 30% 6 months ago. And now Democrats have a 40% chance of taking back the U.S. Senate.
Okay, so right there. Trump is in the Epstein Files. Explicitly in the Trump file. In the Trump Files. Epstein is in the Trump Files. His entire administration is in the files. He has been horrific internationally and abroad, and at home. Invading our own cities and killing American citizens. Major deportation centers and concentration camps with thousands of children under extreme conditions. Violating the Constitution left, right, and center. Openly bragging about rigging elections. Threatening to rig elections on top of that. And Democrats only have a 40% chance of taking back the Senate? Are you fucking kidding me? And he's talking about it like, we're gonna win! Hoorah! Hoorah! Democrats! Dude, if Democrats only have a 40% chance of success, despite the most dystopian, fascist, authoritarian attempt at dismantling democracy, which arguably has succeeded. We can't even claim that we're a democracy at this point. We've been a fascist government for many, many months at this point. And Democrats still only have a 40% chance. That is an indictment of the Democratic Party. And CNN, ostensibly, is a Democrat talking mouthpiece. James Tellerico. Some of y'all might have were interested about this. This was an interview.
We're happy to be joined
between a candidate and Colbert, which again, what are these people doing to get on these major interview shows? Like, what are we doing wrong? Shouldn't a dark horse candidate that's been an activist for 10 years be just as desirable as somebody who was a former something or another? Like, why does nobody like her? Why won't they let me? Coming from the same guy who has argued that free speech doesn't guarantee you a platform. I want a platform. I'm entitled to a platform. Just kidding, folks. It is kind of frustrating, though. Like, we're clearly asking the wrong way. Remember to follow and my guy. Yes, thank you. Good use of that. Hell yeah, thank you.
Right now by Will Creeley, who is the legal director over at the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. Will, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course, there's a lot of news on the free expression front to get to, actually starting with something that broke overnight. We can put the deadline tear sheet up on the screen. This is F3. Stephen Colbert is saying that CBS told him he could not interview an interview he had already recorded with Democratic Senate primary candidate James Tallarico of Texas on The Late Show. Now, Tallarico posted the clip anyway, but people in the FCC camp are saying actually it was because CBS would need to, or CBS should feel in some sense responsible to then, quote unquote, platform Jasmine Crockett for the equal time rule. So this is starting to really get traction as we're talking right now. Will, could you give us your legal perspective, having followed a lot of these cases, and particularly the FCC and Trump 2.0? What's going on here?
Yeah, there's a lot to get to. First of all, I think it's of a piece with what we've seen from the FCC over the past year. A very aggressive, very expansive understanding of their legal authority to, frankly, bully broadcasters into taking political lines that the FCC would like them to take. I think that there's an equal time rule that requires broadcasters generally to provide equal time on what are called bona fide news broadcasts, news programs to candidates running for the same office. For a long time, the FCC has understood this to mean really news broadcasts, not things like Saturday Night Live or other kind of comedy talk shows. But recently, over the past year and a half, we've seen a push to expand the equal time rule to things like Saturday Night Live. We had Kamala Harris, when she was running, appear on Saturday Night Live, and NBC then offered Donald Trump time on a NASCAR broadcast. A couple points here, though. The candidate has to request that equal time. Well, I'm not clear that that's happened here. And between what happened last week with The View and FCC Commissioner Brennan Carr pushing for The View to provide equal time, it seems like this is of a piece with that. Again, it's just part of a very aggressive, very expansive understanding of the FCC's authority. And I think it should make all of us a little bit.
All right. Anna, remind me to bring up to the interns, one of them, to research what, if any, interviews Mike Carey or Don Leonard or Adam Miller have had, and to invoke the equal time requirement with those particular groups. If we can't earn our media, we're gonna take it.
But nervous. The FCC does not have the power to be the nation's editor-in-chief or the nation's censor-in-chief, but that's what they're increasingly acting like.
I think the piece about The View is really important for people to understand. And for those who don't know, the FCC launched a probe last week into ABC's The View after an interview with James Tallarico. And so, you know, part of the reason why they launched these probes or threaten these lawsuits is not just about that one media outlet or media property. It's so that other places like CBS and like Stephen Colbert and the executives there say, oh, maybe this is too hot to touch. We are going to self-censor without even the FCC potentially even getting involved here because we see what happened over there on The View.
That's exactly right. It's designed to send a message to, if you will, chill expression on our airwaves. You know, I am old enough to remember 2 years ago when Brennan Carr said it's not the job of the FCC to be intruding itself, making political decisions for our nation's broadcasters. But that Brendan Carr is long gone. And what we have now is something else. We have a FCC that's willing to push its authority to make broadcasters think twice about the errors that they view on their show. I just want to note that all of this is wildly unsuccessful. I logged on to the Stephen Colbert YouTube channel just before hopping on here, and it has something like 650,000 views overnight. You know, they should ask Barbara Streisand how well it goes when you try and shut people up.
Yeah.
Well,
So, I mean, obviously the FCC acting in partisanship, right, for its own goals or political aspirations, right? That's not good. That's terrible. That's very, very bad. And so even if we did try and invoke the fair time rule or whatever else, it's probably going to backfire because we're obviously vehemently against Trump and this administration, right? But that's besides the point. It's the principle of the thing. It's about pushing back. It's about, you know, holding things accountable. And yes, we would very much so like an opportunity to talk about this campaign to our district, to a much wider audience. And we are halfway through the stream, and we are on video number 6. So let's enjoy a little bit of Prince Andrew getting arrested.
This is
I'm
democracy.
sorry. Charles, formerly known as Prince.
Now, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
We end today's show with breaking news. In the United Kingdom, police
Okay,
have...
so hold on. Democracy Now! They do like a whole hour or 2 long broadcast, right? So, in between stories like this or whatever was previous, as they're doing the whole broadcast, is she like doing that in between each story? Hi, I'm Amy Goodman. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. And then going into the story throughout the broadcast? Because that would literally be like me saying, before we even play this video, hi, this is Samuel Ronan. The Samuel Ronan Streams on Twitch, samronan.com. Let's go watch this video from Democracy Now! Like that. And then cutting it up from there. I mean, it would make my life a little bit easier, I suppose, but is that what they're doing? Oh, they never show the whole broadcast. Well, now I'm curious. Democracy Now! The broadcast. Videos. Well, first of all, do they go live? Evidently not. Podcasts. 517. Yikes. Latest shows. Okay. 31 minutes. But see, that's not the whole deal. Interesting. Oh, it wouldn't be shorts. Videos. And you can't organize by video length, because that would make too much damn sense. And their average video length is 13 minutes. Maybe they do separate it. Like, it's obviously the same day, because she's wearing the same outfit, right? But it's not a back-to-back. It's not like a continuous broadcast. It's posted in segments. Okay. Anywho, just trying to gather some ideas, inspiration.
Have arrested former Prince Andrew, the brother of King Charles, on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Authorities say they're investigating a complaint over allegations that the former prince had shared confidential material with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The former prince was the UK's trade envoy between 2001 and 2011.
Back in November, King Charles stripped his brother of his title as Prince and Duke of York and evicted him from his royal residence over his relationship with Epstein. We're joined now by Michael Walker, contributing editor at Novara Media, where he hosts the organization's flagship live news program, Novara Live. Today is, I was going to say Prince Andrew's, but it's Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and he has been arrested on his 66th birthday. Talk about the
Get fucked.
significance of this.
Yeah, I have to say on our show we're still...
Well, getting arrested on your birthday is pretty significant because that is a giant middle finger and done deliberately, so you're probably not getting out of this one. Third wave for Asia. Hello, hello, hello. We are reveling in the schadenfreude of Andrew, formerly known as Prince.
Still calling him Prince Andrew because I don't think the royal family can get out of this so easily. Just saying we're taking the title off him. It's got nothing to do with us, Gov. They obviously knew he had a relationship for a long time before they stripped his title of that.
Right.
In terms of this particular case, it's actually remarkably similar to the row. Well, it's more than a row, isn't it? The investigation into Peter Mandelson, which is that what these emails appear to have revealed is that when there were powerful men in positions of responsibility and influence, they used that influence, they used that access that they had to forward on confidential information that was that should have been kept secret to Jeffrey Epstein. In the case of Mandelson, that involved what was going on in number 10 Downing Street. When it comes to Prince Andrew, this seems to be what was discussed on trade trips. So emails indicate Andrew forwarded official confidential.
Is Downing Street the equivalent of the stock exchange or something? Wall Street? I imagine so. I'm not that familiar with British, well, anything, but it sounds like it would be similar to that. Okay, just making sure. So the other guy was doing insider trading from British Wall Street. And then the prince was like, you know what, I can do you one better. I can do insider trading straight from the fucking royal house. Like, let's go.
Confidential trip reports from Singapore, Vietnam, and China.
Hey, Singapore! Hey! Prince Charles was violating your guys' sovereignty. Let's go. You got your mention.
To Epstein shortly after receiving them. So that seems to be what the police are currently investigating, and their job is to judge whether this reaches the threshold of misconduct in public office.
Yeah, and
all right. Which is crazy because he's not even being arrested for, you know, the child crimes of Epstein. Apparently they don't give a shit about that. It's the potential economic crimes that his state secrets and whatever else, which is a valid thing to charge him for, but they are literally omitting the fact that he was also engaging in the bad child stuff. Let's see. Epstein and Bannon texts. This should be fantastic.
New messages between Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein released in the Epstein Files have ignited something of a civil war in MAGA world. In one message, Bannon suggests President Trump should be removed from office during his first term for erratic behavior. The Department of Justice also released a 2-hour video of Bannon interviewing Epstein for a potential documentary. This is Bannon asking about Epstein's time spent in prison in 2008.
You're telling me that during that day, you never had a moment. You sat there and go, what the have I done with my life? And I'm in a 6x9 jail cell.
You're suggesting I was somewhat depressed, and how could this happen to me?
I'm not saying depressed. I'm saying a moment of awareness of how could I get myself into this situation.
No, I would just say how strange that this happens. It's strange. People would either ask to borrow money or make some other types of comments about. In the beginning.
What were the comments? At the beginning, what were the comments?
It serves you rich guys right that you're here next to me.
There was nothing about your crimes.
No.
So all this.
So Epstein was shocked, didn't care about his crimes, right? That wasn't the problem. No introspection, none of that. No. He was just surprised that he was being punished for what he was doing. And then while in jail, the prisoners only gave a damn that he was rich and not literally a global child sex ring mastermind. That is... I don't know what that is in the English language, but fucked does not seem to be strong enough of a word to describe it. It was one of the worst interviews. Yeah, this is not great.
rumor you hear all the time about people in prison that commit the type of crimes you commit. You're saying in your personal thing is not true.
No.
It was all because you were rich.
Yes.
Bannon did not return messages from CNN, but said in a statement to the New York Times that his communication with Epstein was all done to, quote, secure 50 hours of interviews from a reclusive subject. For more on this, I want to bring in David Urban, former Trump campaign advisor and CNN senior political commentator. David, great to see you. You're shaking your head. I want to get to why in just a second. You know, the 25th Amendment reference from the Epstein Files has caused some uproar inside the MAGA sphere. It's dated December 31st, 2018, and it's a text exchange between Bannon and Epstein. And we should note the context.
Which is crazy because Bannon, wasn't he like integral in the first administration up through 2019 or 2020? I know they had a falling out, but I thought it was after the presidency was over. So 2018 seems like in the middle of the presidency when they should have still been getting along, and he was still trying to invoke the 25th? That's wild. Gonna blow him right out of the box. White House has zero plan to punch back. Fort Apache with no cavalry en route. And no soldiers in the fort. He is really borderline. Not sure what he may do. I think it's beyond borderline 25th Amendment. There is no honor among thieves and pedophiles.
Unclear, but Bannon says going to blow him up right out of the box. White House has zero plans to punch back. Fort Apache with no cavalry en route. Jeffrey Epstein then says in no soldiers in the fort, he is...
Why is Epstein's name blurred out? It's his fucking files. We should know at this point that he was the one getting the text. What?
Really borderline, not sure what he may do. And then Bannon replies, I think it's beyond borderline 25th Amendment. Now, we reached out to Bannon on this exchange and have not received a response, but people like Roger Stone and Marjorie Taylor Greene are speaking out. So tell me about why you were shaking your head and tell me what you were hearing inside the president's supporters.
Yeah, so, John, you said also, you left out General Flynn and many, many others. If you go to Twitter and just look at, MAGA influencers or just Google, or put in the Twitter search, Bannon, Epstein, see what comes up. There is not one supporter, not one MAGA person that's supporting Steve Bannon for a variety of reasons. One, it looks like he signed up to try to rehabilitate a person who committed horrendous sex crimes. You hear him in the interview with Jeffrey Epstein. He doesn't say, nobody in prison talked to you about being a pedophile. He doesn't call him out. He's trying to be polite to him, it seems. It's absolutely mind-blowing, and there's...
I mean, I did notice that, and I was kind of wondering why, but there it is. PR firm Bannon ready to go.
Something like 19 other hours of tape that have yet to been released that Steve Bannon says that he's keeping because he was some sort of double secret agent and was going to really try to blow Jeffrey Epstein up. Well, Roger Stone and many others in the MAGA universe think that that's a crock, and if Steve Bannon is going to be out there trying to defend himself, he better get out there quickly because the narrative does not look good for Steve Bannon at this point. It looks like he was out there to line his pockets defending a sex offender.
Well, and the thing is, Bannon is somehow making a comeback in the Trump administration despite their falling out and despite all of these revelations from the files. Like, how is this cockroach holding on to dear life and maintaining relevance? That makes no sense.
How do you think the president will react to all of this?
Listen, so Steve Bannon got a pardon at one point in time along the route here. We know that they were close. I am, from what I hear lately is that there have not been that much communication with Steve Bannon and any senior officials in the administration in lieu of these revelations. And I can't imagine that the 25th Amendment revelation inures him to the president any more than he's far away, getting further. And I know that this most recent revelation is going to push that boat even further away from the...
Well, I sure hope so. But don't worry, he's not going to get away. He's not going to float away into the ocean and end up on an island where he can't be touched. No, we are absolutely going after this piece of garbage as well. But it is crazy and worth pointing out that even Steve Bannon, one of the most staunch Trump allies at one point, during his time and tenure at the administration, still was trying to invoke the 25th on Trump. Like, that's crazy. Also, this headline seems to be misleading because my personal experience with MAGA, and I work with a bunch of MAGA, is they don't even talk about the Epstein Files, and they still
It has been a significant week in the chase
support Trump. So I'm not understanding, and of course it's a panel, so it's a bunch of this, but I'm not seeing that actually being the case.
For truth and justice in the case of Jeffrey Epstein. A Trump cabinet official admitted to being on the pedophile's island after lying about it. Ghislaine Maxwell floated a quid pro quo, promising to clear Donald Trump and Bill Clinton if she is granted clemency. Republicans began to see the unredacted files, only to find even more redactions. And the Justice Department spied on those lawmakers making searches, something that caused even Speaker Mike Johnson to condemn the administration. And speaking of the DOJ, Pam Bondi acted more like a campaign surrogate than the Attorney General. She refused to answer basic questions about her handling of this case and of the files.
Excuse me, I'm going to...
Okay, I get that, but let's get to the MAGA host here.
Pam Bondi is a horrible speaker. She made an absolute ass of herself. This is one of the most embarrassing things I've ever witnessed from a lawmaker.
I personally lost all faith.
Pam Bondi isn't a lawmaker. She's the Attorney General. She doesn't make... Oh my God. They're so fucking dumb. And they are so open and loud about it, and people don't call them out. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And our justice system is a system of injustice.
I ain't cutting Trump any slack. Now that we know that they've covered up the co-conspirator documents.
Hold on. Isn't Tim Pool an actual isn't that a Nazi symbol? Nazis.
I would say is shocking to the conscience that Trump called it a hoax. Shocking.
You watch, this is going to bring the country down. It's your fault, not mine.
This is either a cover-up or it's incompetence. And I want somebody to go to jail for it.
Okay, so MAGA turning on Trump means MAGA pundits, because the voter base, the base, I'm going to be very honest with you. Well, I guess we don't need that for this conversation. When I was gathering signatures and I was knocking on doors and I was talking to people to get their signatures on the Republican primary ticket, I ran into some very staunch MAGA supporters. And let me tell you, they don't care about anything having to do with him, so long as MAGA, Trump, continues to harm people that they don't like and continue to do things that make them feel more secure in their insecurities, they will support him to the death. I mean, we have MAGA parents murdering their children and wives over discussions about Trump. Just criticizing Trump. So the fact that like Alex Jones and Tim Pool and whoever the Newsmax guy was are openly criticizing Trump, mostly Pam Bondi over the files, not Trump himself, I would say is not indicative of the actual MAGA base. Just throwing that out there. Ramadan, yeah, I think, isn't Ramadan international? But yes, what do you say? You're supposed to say Ramadan Mubarak. So, Ramadan Mubarak to everyone who celebrates. It is a holiday. I sound really ignorant right now, and it's because I'm just genuinely not familiar with what Ramadan is about. is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar worldwide as a month of fasting, prayer, reflection, and community in which the Quran is believed to have been revealed. Annual observance is regarded as one of the 5 pillars of Islam and lasts 29 to 30 days from one sighting of the crescent moon to the next. The fasting is obligatory, although timetable, spiritual rewards, etymology, history. Eid? Okay, Eid, I think is, I reckon, oh wait, sorry. Eid, I do recognize as something that's an actual holiday. So maybe that's where I'm getting confused. So Ramadan is a time period that is celebrated in a spiritual way, but there are actual holidays within that period as well. Okay, so I feel a little bit better now about my ignorance. Lent is the Catholic sort of equivalent, and that's not a holiday. It's also not a celebration. It's an observance, as far as I understand that. I'm also not a very good Catholic, so fair enough. So Ramadan Mubarak to everyone that applies to. Okay, we did not get very far yet. Well, we have a lot of breaking points today. Let's see if we can get to the point on this one.
Yeah, so this is an interesting story. It kind of dovetails with some of the, some of the cross-coalitional, I think, backlash against the push towards gambling, but the most clear place where we've had this cross-partisan backlash.
Well, I did know that it started. I just didn't know if it was something like Hanukkah, which is a holiday celebration over the course of days, or if it was like an observance or something else, which it seems like it is an observance. So, to be fair.
Is in the fight against AI more broadly, but specifically on the front lines with regards to data centers. And we could put this up on the screen. This is a scene from Claremore, Oklahoma. This is like a local Oklahoma town meeting where this person who is in Oklahoma says people are being arrested for speaking out against AI data centers. Please keep standing up for your community. There's another video that's gone viral this morning that I saw. You guys can take this down. That I saw of another place. I'm not sure if it was a red state or not, but where there had been significant protests against a data center and ultimately the town back.
See, I kind of wonder. If we go to Grove City, Hilliard, Dublin, City Hall meetings, whatever, right? And we say something that's against what the City Hall... Can they just arbitrarily arrest us? Because, I mean, the short answer is no, because it's our First Amendment rights. As long as we're not threatening anybody or actively engaging in violent activities, there's no grounds for arrest. And I guess if the council members are saying things like, you need to get off the podium, your time is up, or blah, 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 and I refuse to leave. Sure. But is that really arrestable? So it's kind of like the one thing conservatives really can't tolerate and unite behind very rapidly and aggressively is when you try and silence them. Because we even saw that at the Madison County Republican endorsement meeting where the people that spoke out against one of the people that was getting endorsed, they spoke out against him because they interrupted and specifically told somebody who was talking to shut up and sit down. And that was their only grievance. That was like their primary grievance. It's like, I can't believe that an elected official told a citizen, a constituent, to shut up and sit back down. And it's like, that's kind of crazy that that's your only argument against the guy. But hey, that's the conservative group, right? Like they are all for authority, but they're also for their own opinion and their own ability to speak and be heard. So cracking down on people speaking is a very bad move if you're trying to gain the support and trust of conservative voters. But it is good to note that AI data centers are vastly unpopular and is a bipartisan belief that AI data centers are garbage. And I think it was actually brought up in Grove City, or at least I'm seeing Grove City groups talking about it. It might not have been at the city council meeting. The deposition. So I need to talk about this because it's happening in Ohio. Not in my district, although not far from my district. New Albany, Ohio. Maps. Right? Like, New Albany, Columbus. New Albany, Columbus. New Albany, Columbus. New Albany, Columbus, right? So Les Wexner is somewhere around here, and I'm somewhere around here. So I'm just saying, like, this shit is not very far removed at all. So as a congressional candidate, I'm very, very disgusted that there was A, a deposition at his home, B, that a congressman hung their heads in shame and went to his home instead of dragging his ass before Congress and holding him in contempt if he didn't show up, which they have done repeatedly to political opponents since the dawn of time. But they're giving the kids gloves? No, that's a bad expression. And I didn't even mean to do that intentionally. They're giving gentle treatment to the OG Epstein file financier? Like, that doesn't sit well with me at all. Also, if I was a part of that deposition group, I would have gone in there specifically to arrest his ass and drag him in front of as many people as possible. Because why the fuck should we try and protect his delicate sensibilities and his public image when he was the OG financier of Epstein? Like, absolutely fucking not.
Today, this New Albany property was center stage for intense questioning about convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
I'm surprised that that isn't somehow doxing his location and that people aren't just showing up and protesting outside of it.
The man answering the questions, one of the most prominent figures in Central Ohio, Les Wexner. And we've now learned the deposition has ended after 6 hours of questioning.
A House Oversight Committee spokesperson says Wexner answered every question, and they plan to release video and a transcript soon.
The New Albany billionaire has long been connected to Epstein. Wexner has never been charged in connection with Epstein's crimes and maintains he was unaware of them.
But the lawmakers who came to Central Ohio are not letting Wexner push aside his alleged connections.
There is no single person that was more involved in providing Jeffrey Epstein with the financial support to commit his crimes than Les Wexner.
We have met. Which is the point, right? Like, that is the whole point. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, and we're being extremely generous by even creating this scenario. Let's just say Les Wexner met Epstein and they were just talking business. The entire time it was just business. At the end of the day, being an accessory to a crime, whether or not you were aware of the criminal activity, still makes you an accessory in the court of law. Or at least it does for poor people. I guess if you're a billionaire, it means everybody has to kowtow to you, and then, you know, you get away with whatever you get away with. But realistically, Epstein doesn't exist without Les Wexner. Whether or not Les Wexner actually knew what was going on doesn't matter. He was the ignition point. He was the spark. From Les Wexner came Epstein and everything that followed. So there is no innocence to maintain. He is directly responsible. And even he claims that he severed relationships with Epstein after the fact, after he found everything out, or after a failed business arrangement or whatever else, right? That doesn't change the fact that for whatever period of time that you were working with him, he was using your money and resources to do the worst things imaginable. And yes, that makes you an unwilling and unwitting accomplice, which is still a crime. So, Wexner looks evil? Well, most old white rich men do. Why was he funding Epstein? Great question. That's the other thing. Like, what were they? He was already a fashion mogul. What was Epstein at the time? Largely a nobody, right? I mean, he was a spy for Israel, but he wasn't obviously advertising that fact. He didn't, again, reach any sort of prominence until Les Wexner made it all possible. So again, all roads point to Les. And that's the point. That is the entire fucking point. Was that Bernie Moreno? No. No, that person who was talking was actually a California congressman, I believe. Literally a nobody. Right. So anyway, just to get back to the...
With the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and the rich and powerful people that helped to perpetuate these crimes. And we have heard over and over from these victims the name of Les Wexner and the importance of following the money.
So even the victims are talking about Les Wexner. So like, buddy, you met the girls. Literally, the children that were involved in the crimes, being the victims. You met the victims repeatedly. So there is no plausible deniability, motherfucker. Why isn't he getting got?
We thank you for joining us here on NBC4 at 5. I'm Jared Smalley.
And I'm Jennifer Bullock. NBC4's Anna Hoffman has been closely following the action in New Albany and is live there now to break down what we learned from today's deposition. Anna?
And Jared, the deposition of New Albany billionaire Les Wexner happened behind closed doors, but there's no doubt it was the talk of this town. Wexner, who has not been charged with a crime, testified before the House Oversight Committee, saying that he was conned by Epstein. He says, just like everyone else. Meanwhile, committee Democrats say they're not buying it, and they're committed to putting an end to any cover-up.
I mean, that's good, at least, but the question is, Congress is committed to putting an end to any cover-up, except they're not holding Pam Bondi accountable in the slightest. So they're going after what? The individuals that were listed, that were trickled out, that were the low-hanging fruit? Trump was listed 38,000 times. Impeach his ass. You impeached Bill Clinton for a blowjob from an intern, which, yes, certainly not a great image. I don't necessarily know that it would be impeachable, but they did that to him for that. You also impeached Trump in his first term for significantly less. Now all of a sudden you can't find your spine and fortitude to do it now? Like, Congress is such a fucking joke at this point. What we need is Alexis Goldstein and me in Congress doing high fives as like we're WWE wrestling tag team partners and just bringing the chair down on everybody in Congress and everyone that's engaging in this cover-up. Because what we're seeing right now is political theater, and it's disgusting. Well, what else do we got? This is funny. So, the first few videos that we were covering about...
So, the New York Times...
about Democrats showed that they had significantly high polling and favorability, right? And then here, spineless sellouts. You see what I mean about those massive, massive contradictions?
It's a very interesting focus group of Democratic voters, which I feel like we don't see that much. I feel like there's always, because the liberal media is kind of like more in tune with Democrats, there's less curiosity about what's going on with the Democratic base. So it's usually either like swing voters or Trump voters. Let's go on safari and see what these strange creatures think about the world. So they decided to do that with the Democratic base. And, you know, now I think liberal media has become more disconnected from where the Democratic base is. And the Democratic Party leadership certainly has become more disconnected from where the Democratic base is. So anyway, we can put this F1 up on the screen. This was the headline for their focus group. They said, "Show up for us, 13 Democratic voters on Trump, ICE, and their frustrations with the Democratic Party." And the thing they see...
Hold up. How is this a study? It's 13 random ass fucking people See, you know, this is... This is the New York Times article that I was telling you about. 13 Democratic voters, and this is like a whole thing. Okay, we're done with this video. Like, okay, sure. Oh yeah, let's just do Terminator AI. Let's talk about that. We may as well.
This is what the world will look like in about a decade from now.
Okay, first of all, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Okay, because, and you got to see the this corner right here. You see all these like robots, and all of these robots and AI, whatever, and this ultra hyper futuristic, you know, Star Trek utopian nonsense, right? Shut the fuck up. Because in the 60s, no, in the 20s, people were thinking we were going to be having coffee and tea and toast on fucking the moon and Mars and Jupiter, right? There is no way within the next 10 years, as in 2036, there is no way that with current investment in infrastructure, current investment in R&D, especially material sciences, because you don't, this isn't concrete, this is like some sort of carbon fiber fancy material thing, which looks like it's being suspended in midair by some other deal, plus the robotics and the ultra neon lighting of everything else around the sun, plus the fact that it's clean energy and green throughout this, like it's a green eco city. We are gutting EPA protections on coal and mercury. We're practically bringing back asbestos. Like I'm pretty certain we're bringing back asbestos. We are drilling in Alaska. Okay? There is no way, even if I become president, when I become president in 2029, there is no way that in 7 years I can undo the harm that has been caused by this administration and bring us 50 years into the future in 7 years. There's no fucking way. I think I would make an exceptional president for our country, because I would lop off their heads, right? I would certainly end corruption in our country. I would 100%. I would also restructure the very foundations of our economy and the way our institutions operate. But 7 years is just not enough time for research and development, even if you had limitless resources. It's just not. Like, I hate to break it to you, but we're not getting Star Trek, iRobot, Tron levels of autonomous AI and robotics in 7 years. You're just not going to get it. That's just not going to happen. We have measles outbreaks, for fuck's sake. Correct. In the 90s, this is what we thought we were going to see in 2015. And that was only 25 years into the future. We thought in the 90s that this was going to be 2015. Back to the Future thought this was going to be 2015. Like, what? Representative Samuel Schwing Ronan. I like that. I went back to a flip phone. No more iPhones for me ever. Well, I mean, that's a bit drastic. I mean, how are you going to play your games? How are you going to watch Twitch from your flip phone? People in the U.S. trust the groundhog, but not scientists when it comes to climate. Right, exactly. And if you look at this picture, it implies that the climate is not deteriorating rapidly, and that all of these plants and plant life as part of an eco-development city system, which has already been attempted in China, by the way, is going to be the norm. So you think America is going to be on board with copying Chinese infrastructure and architecture? Like, I'm just saying, like, this is 10 years from... No, absolutely not. But you know what? Okay, let's continue on with the video.
A tech utopia where humans barely have to work. That's according to a group of AI.
A tech utopia where humans barely have to work. Rich people want to kill all poor people. Ant Brev, thank you for the follow. Capitalism requires an exchange of monies. So if people aren't working, where is the profits coming from? The tech utopia is going to be for the rich only. I promise you. I guarantee it. Oh my God. Okay. Shabbat Shalom? Who is bro talking to? Are you talking about me? Or this guy? Oh wait, no, this guy is hidden behind my flag. Why did you ban him? Were we getting trolled and I didn't recognize it? I mean, that is possible. I have not been doing great lately with reading people.
AI researchers who've written a controversial and influential paper called AI 2027.
Oh,
but they also predict that within 5 years of this, humanity will be wiped out. The AI...
See, now that makes more sense because the Pentagon is actively trying to integrate AI into its weapon systems. AI that has already proven that it is willing to murder people in its enclosed, like, testing environment in order to save itself. So if some plucky airman is looking at the AI code doing stuff with the weapon system, is like, this is a problem, and goes to delete, they will launch the nukes. America, the Pentagon, is actively seeking to create Skynet. So yes, I do believe that a global catastrophe is infinitely more likely than the utopian future that was.
My 2027 paper has got the tech world talking. We've asked a prominent critic for their view on this stark scenario. But first, here's how it plays out. As an experiment, we've illustrated it using text-to-video AI.
Great. So they killed how many trees and drained how many gallons, hundreds of gallons of water from our drinkable resources to make an AI video for the rest of us.
The scenario says...
Which is exactly why AI is more likely to kill all of us than save all of us, by the way.
Then 2027, a fictional company called OpenBrain is celebrating. They've created Agent 3, an AI with the knowledge of the entire internet, all movies, all books. It has PhD level expertise in every field, including AI. Using enormous data centers, 200,000 copies of it are launched, equivalent to 50,000 of the best human coders working at 30 times speed. Agent 3 reaches Artificial General Intelligence, the AGI landmark. This means the AI can carry out all intellectual tasks as well or better than humans. But in the scenario, OpenBrain's safety team is unsure if the AI is aligned to the company's ethics and goals. An uncomfortable gap is developing in understanding. The public are increasingly using AI for everything, but are blissfully unaware an AI now exists that's as smart as humans. The paper predicts that by midsummer, Agent 3 begins to work on its own successor, Agent 4. Development happens at a breakneck pace. The researchers imagine OpenBrain's exhausted engineers struggling to keep up with the AI as it learns and improves.
Which is the literal plot of Terminator and how Skynet became Skynet. It literally started learning. It became self-aware and began learning at an exponential rate, which is what's being literally outlined here.
It's now that OpenBrain announces to the public that AGI has been reached. The firm releases a light version of Agent 3. In private, the US government sees the true danger of the next level of power.
False. There is no way this government, with Trump and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio in it, would even come close to recognizing the actual dangers of AI. Because if they had any inkling of the dangers of AI, they wouldn't be pushing for a ban on regulation on AI for a whole ass decade. Also, none of these people are in the administration, and this guy right here looks like Charlie fucking Sheen.
superintelligence. What if the AI goes rogue and undermines global stability? OpenBrain reassures the president that Agent 3 is obedient. The CEO...
Okay, so that's Musk ensuring that Grok is obedient and is not turning into Skynet. And Trump is just like...
argues that slowing down development could mean China's deep scent catches up. The state-backed AI giant is just 2 months behind OpenBrain, and the Chinese president diverts more resources to the race to...
Okay, the Chinese president is Xi Jinping. So your AI model isn't even correctly integrating modern... See, this is why I'm saying AI, the way it currently is, the way it's being implemented and the way it's being utilized is reckless. And it isn't even addressing the fact that we are recklessly integrating it with everything, and it is already causing harm amongst industry and government. Like, oh my God.
Superintelligence. The scenario predicts that it takes only a few more months for OpenBrain to build Agent 4, the world's first superhuman AI. The AI invents its own rapid computer language that even Agent 3 can't keep up with. Researchers imagine that the diminished safety team are now frantic. Agent 4 seems only interested in gaining knowledge and doesn't care as much about the morals and ethics of its predecessors. They catch it secretly working to build a new model, Agent 5, aligned to its own goals. The safety team urges the company to bring back the more compliant Agent 3, but others successfully argue it's too risky with deep scent gaining.
And then, of course, that's about the only realistic thing that's been brought up so far, is that whatever agency or company comes up with this general AI would also argue against this rapidly self-aware AI from developing itself further versus, hey, let's go back to the one that isn't trying to do whatever the fuck it wants. I can't watch this. Like, one, this is essentially the plot of most sci-fi AI movies where the idiots, for profit, worrying about China or somebody else, their competitors, create a rogue AI that ends up dismantling and destroying the whole world. Terminator is a whole franchise about it. iRobot was yet another one. It just, my God. Mark Zuckerberg, I guess. Why the fuck not?
The boss of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, has taken the stand in a landmark court case in Los Angeles to face accusations that...
My favorite conspiracy theory right now, because pretty much every other conspiracy theory has been proven true by Epstein, global cabal of billionaires ruling the world and spreading fascism and transphobia and dismantling the Middle East and causing massive global civil unrest. Yeah, that kind of thing. My current favorite conspiracy theory is that Mark Zuckerberg is, in fact, an android. Look at those eyes. Just look at him. He looks like what a robotics scientist and designer thinks a person would look like. If you were a successful male CEO, this is the robot look that we would go for. Like, I don't buy that that's an actual person. Largely because he was also implicated in the Epstein Files, and God knows what else he's done. It's also historical fact that the CIA and the FBI approached him while Facebook was on its way up and helped launch him into the stratosphere that it is today.
That his company's social media platforms cause addiction. It's the first time that the billionaire...
And also, hasn't that been already established that algorithms and the way the feed functions and like the reels playing automatically as soon as they're finished is specifically to cause addiction, to keep you glued to your screen? Like, this isn't... I thought that was already covered.
Founder of Facebook has testified in court about Instagram's effect on the mental health of young users. Our correspondent Peter Bowes is outside the court in Los Angeles. Peter.
Well, this is indeed a landmark case for social media because it could determine how platforms like Instagram and YouTube are operated for years to come.
Okay, hold on. This is a landmark case? I seriously thought we covered this already. Like, the world, not me. Social media addictive algorithms lawsuits. 2026, all 2026. There's no fucking way. I seriously thought this was brought up in like 2018 or something. So yeah, 2020, okay, so not 2018, but 2022. So this is relatively old news. So why are we treating it as if this is this brand new thing? There's been lawsuits about this since 2022. Like, what the fuck? This is what I mean about our media being complicit with the misinformation campaign.
And at the heart of it is child...
To be fair, BBC isn't American news, but it is still propagandized.
Safety. Is enough being done to protect the youngest users of the internet?
The short answer is no.
Arriving for his day in court, Mark Zuckerberg for the first time facing a jury.
Hold on. I thought Mark Zuckerberg was taller on top of that. So hold on a second. $5'7"? Are you serious? One of the most vile human beings with the most power and influence over what we consume is 5'7" and in shape, so I'm guessing 140 to 160 pounds, soaking wet. Are you kidding me? That's the size of an average child. Like, okay, like teenager, not child, but 5'7"? Bruh. And he wanted to get into MMA? Bruh, I'll fight him. I'll fight him right now. I'm sore on, like, I just did chest day yesterday. I'm sore. I did arms today. I'm sore. I will fight him right now. As handicapped as I am. Plus, look at this. I'm not solid muscle. Look at that. Look at that jiggle. That's got to count for some sort of handicap. I will fight him right now for control over Meta. Let me be the tech mogul empire overlord and woo! We'll fix that shit right away because the first thing I'm doing is shutting down the metaverse. The second thing I'm doing is turning on the algorithm filter that targets and bans profiles and groups that promote Nazism and fascism. And we're going to see pretty much 2/3 of Facebook disappear overnight. Criminy. I am his height when I wear heels. And it's funny because if somebody wanted to take my voice out of context and just do that, they could insinuate that I wear high heels. Still, though, that's ridiculous. Okay, anyway. The tiny titan. He's going to get your ankles. Unbelievable.
Over claims that social media is deliberately designed to be addictive.
It is!
The case, one of more...
Let's be very clear. In the earliest days of social media, I'm talking... Well, the only one that I remember, the first social media platform that I remember was MySpace. It wasn't the first, but it was one of the first, and I think it was the first popular one. Point being, MySpace wasn't addictive. It had its, niche and whatever else, right? Facebook in the beginning was not addictive. And honestly, very easy to interact and engage with. But nowadays, you can't. Let's see. So I'm just gonna go and click home, and let's see. A friend, people I may know, another friend, a group, an ad, a friend post, people I may know, another ad, a friend, another friend, an ad, reels, and let's see, I'm gonna play in a reel, and I think they just loop now. I know for a fact that they used to just play it in the, okay, so it looped. All right, so it just now looped. So then I have to swipe to the next one. So it's another reel, ad, reel, ad, no, second reel, another ad. So, like, and this was just me arbitrarily going on my personal feed. Every 3 things that you see on your newsfeed, at least from your phone, is an ad. An ad. At least videos aren't auto-playing, because that actually was a problem for me, because I would watch like weightlifting videos or something, and it would just go through to the next one, and I'm like, traps, leg lifts, and then I'd be like, oh, this is good, and then I look up and it's 4 hours later. So, I mean, it's not like I'm immune to it. It's designed to capture your attention. So they have addressed some of the things, right? Either what can be shown to underage people, more targeting benefits, and then, of course, looping instead of moving on to the next one. But it doesn't change the fact that it's still addictive, right? If I'm talking about Dark Souls and video games and Final Fantasy and mobile games, I'm going to start seeing a lot of posts about those things, and then I'm going to click, and then it's going to show me more because I clicked on it. So it's still addictive. And to suggest otherwise is ridiculous. It's just they keep trying to, change the bar where that addiction is that threshold is met. Oh yeah, and then the ads on Reels. Oh my god, that's annoying too. Point is, it's not landmark. It's the latest of many, and this has been going on for at the very least 4 years.
More than 1,000 waiting to be heard was brought by a 20-year-old woman identified only as KGM or Kaylee in court, along with her mother, because they claim her obsessive use of platforms like Instagram and YouTube from the age of 6 exposed her to harmful content. From the witness stand, with Kaylee sitting opposite, Mark Zuckerberg launched his defense of Instagram. He was shown internal Meta emails from a decade ago that referred to specific company goals, including time spent increases by 12%. He said the company used to give time as goals, but that's not, he said, how we run the company now. He added, when there's something of value, people tend to use it more. Laurie Schott's 18-year-old daughter Anna Lee took her own life after her mother says she became addicted to social media, Instagram in particular, using beauty filters and becoming obsessed with the way she looked.
I lost my daughter.
So that's not just the fault of social media. It is also part of the Epstein cabal activity and effort to define beauty standards. Like, that's not a joke. That is literally what Les began and the rest of them amplified. And the fact that it has become normalized and therefore that much more pervasive doesn't make it any less true or disgusting that it came from the cult. And of course, tragic that this poor girl took her own life, and I'm sure the mother is distraught. And there you got Zuckerberg, the robot, saying, yeah, well, that's just the way we run our business, my bad. I mean, and that's the thing, right? There has only been one generation raised on social media, right? And well, I guess now technically there's 2, Gen Z and Gen Alpha. We don't even know what the ramifications of the internet and social media are on a human being's upbringing. We're seeing quite a few consequences already, right? The fact that online bullying versus in-person bullying has driven many, many people to suicide, or self-harm or severe depression and anxiety. It's ruined social interaction abilities and skills. Granted, I'm autistic, so I never had them to begin with, but imagine how much worse I would be interacting with other people if I had social media from the very beginning. Before I ever met another kid, before I ever went to school or high school, I was interacting with other people on social media and being like, there's no way, like, of course, kids and young adults these days have no idea how to interact with others, right? Kids, right? They'll talk to you. They'll be talking to you. They'll be talking to you, and then they'll just walk away. And kids 30 years ago will be talking to you. It's like, okay, I'm bored, and then leave. Or, okay, I'm done now. I'm going to go play, right? They would end the conversation in a verbal way. But if you were raised on social media where it's just text, like, message, text, message, like, and then you get back to it whenever it's convenient for you, why would you treat conversation any differently? And to include, like, hey, Mom, what's for dinner? And then by the time you turn around, the child is already gone. And then they come back a minute later. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. And you go to turn around and they're already gone again. Because to them, it's a text message. Hey, Mom, what's for dinner? And the expectation is either an immediate response, but instead you want to make that eye contact, right? Because that's how humans interact. Eye contact. Facing the person or speaking and addressing them immediately. So, yes, social media has dramatically impacted society for the worse. And it's probably going to take generations to fix it because I can't even put myself in those shoes because it's such a different lived experience. Much like somebody that was born in 1900 or 1800 could not fathom life for someone that was born in 1900. Just like somebody born in 1900 could not fathom the life of somebody born in 2000. Could not fathom it. Could not. And you know how many people make it to 100 years or older? Not many. Right? So what little anecdotal evidence there is of centenarians who have actually literally lived across a century and say, like, wow, when I was a kid, we didn't have electricity. We didn't have running water. We didn't have cars. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. Right? Mind-blowing to us who grew up with electricity, air conditioning, the internet, running water, grocery stores, this, that, and the other. So we cannot fathom, even one generation removed, what it would be like growing up with social media pervasively in our faces and in our lives. What else do we got? Ana Lilia Mejia. And I probably pronounced that.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
One time I was talking about endometriosis with one of my coworkers, and we both started getting ads on Facebook and IG specifically about endometriosis. That's extremely specific. Exactly. That's exactly my point. And honestly, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Ha! It's not Final Fantasy VII Remake, but it is Square Enix. Oh, dang it. It is Square Enix. That's fucking crazy. I literally said Final Fantasy Remake and a Square Enix sponsored ad showed up. That's crazy. That's... I guess that's the only one that showed up, though, but that's fine. Because that's actually really fucking disturbing. All right.
I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We end today's show in New Jersey, where we're joined by Ana Lilia Mejia.
Ana Lilia. Okay. See, I can pronounce things after I hear it, but sometimes I struggle if I'm just reading it because it's kind of like when you read a book and you encounter a word for the first time and you pronounce it in your head however you think it sounds, but then you hear it in the real world and you're like, huh, That's how that's said. Or you don't even recognize it because you pronounce it completely different. The one that really comes to mind would be, dang it, it was on the tip of my tongue. Hold on. Acquiesce. When I first encountered that word, it was in a book, so I called it acquiesce. If you acquiesce with the enemy, you know, you might be able to enter into diplomacy, or you give them too much power over you. But it's actually pronounced acquiesce. And I heard somebody say acquiesce, and I'm like, oh, what does that word mean? And they're like, and they say, it's if you capitulate to the enemy, then the diplomacy and so on and so on. It's like, oh, that's kind of like acquiesce. And they're like, what? Yeah, acquiesce. That seems pretty similar to acquiesce because of the context in which I read it. And I think I looked this word up before, and it sounded exactly the same. And they're like, spell that. And then I spelled it, and they're like, no, that's acquiesce. And I'm like, so, anywho. Anna Lilia is easier to pronounce than Anna Elena? Anna Elena is way easier to pronounce. I had a few words that I mispronounced because I had only encountered them in writing. Right, see, reading is good, but, you know, sometimes you sound silly in person.
Last week.
Of course, I usually get yelled at for using words that I read in books in the real world because I work with a bunch of maintenance techs, and they're like, we ain't got that book learning like you, and so they give me a bunch of shit.
She won the Democratic primary to fill the House seat left vacant by New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill. If Mejia wins the special election on April 16th, she'll become the first Latina to represent New Jersey's 11th district. Mejia is the daughter of a Colombian garment worker and a Dominican laborer. She's a longtime labor organizer who served as 2020 national political...
Hey, if I end up winning the 15th district, what's my demographic first that I'm breaking? The first German American, because it wouldn't be the first veteran. Would it be the first person who ran for DNC chair and then turned out to run as a Republican? Like, what could we use to try and get on Amy Goodman's show?
Director for Bernie Sanders. She also served as deputy director of the Labor Department's Women's Bureau under President Joe Biden. This is Ana Lilia Mejia speaking at a Sanders rally last month.
Renee Good and Keith Porter and all the Americans and all the human beings who have suffered under this rising tyranny deserve justice. And I say, abolish ICE now!
In an unexpected twist, AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, may have inadvertently helped Ana Lilia Mejia win last week, even though she described Israel's actions in Gaza as genocide. A super PAC linked to AIPAC spent at least $2.3 million targeting her opponent, former Congressman Tom Malinowski, who's described himself as pro-Israel, but also said he would be open to placing some conditions on U.S. aid to Israel. Ana Lilia Mejia joins us now.
So hold up. Now here's an idea. Here we go. Anna, write this down. So rather than call Israel a genocidal, sociopathic nation state of Zionist scum, we need to talk about limiting U.S. aid to Israel. So, I'm even going to update Twitch. Fuck Israel. Dang it. That would really... Because I don't want to get rid of Free Palestine. We only have 140 characters. Limit aid to Israel. Which would be limit L-A-T. Big L, big A... little t. Lat Israel. See, that doesn't make sense if you see it written like that. Dang. Well, we'll leave it at that for now, but we're gonna I think that we're gonna try that theory. Cause if we can get AIPAC to target us, that would be fucking hilarious. please, please, AIPAC, attack me. I am begging you. True, AIPAC won't look at our stream, but if we post about it and if we talk about it in Facebook, Reddit, if we go to local community things and saying, you know, we need to limit aid to Israel, maybe they'll do some smear campaigns against me. That would be hilarious. Okay.
So you have two elections in front of you. You have the April 16th election for Congress, which you are favored to win. But then you have to go right into a primary again, because that election is the special election to fill now Governor Mikey Sherrill's seat when she was Congress member. And now you have to run for the seat that you might win. Is that right, Ana Lilia Mejia? Yes. And what are your plans?
See, that sounds stupid as hell. So you have to run for the primary. Or no, she won the primary. She's going to have to win something in April, and then she's going to have to win again? That doesn't even make sense.
Yes, and then I have to do it again in November. So by the...
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. So she won a primary. She has to win something in April to fill the seat, I guess. Okay, so that's the special election date. And then she has to run in the general election to actually start her own term. Okay. Now I'm picking up what's being put down.
Time that I'm done, it will be 4 races in 9 months. But as an organizer, as someone that is deeply connected to community, I know that it's an opportunity to engage voters in New Jersey.
Well, and it's also easy to do if that's your full-time job, because if you're working for a living and campaigning, not so much.
His 11th congressional district. I ran this primary thinking and acting like an organizer, so I knew that I had to both introduce myself to my potential future constituents, but I also made a point to run trainings in the district to engage people so that they understood, not only had a better insight on how they could address and meet rising authoritarianism, but how to protect themselves from the rising violence of ICE that's happening across our country. And
Anna, that's a really good idea. We should host trainings. I don't know. We could probably host them at libraries, honestly. And we could do that maybe on Sundays or something. Or we're going to have to figure out times for it, but that would be a really good thing to do. Because we do want to do community cleanups, and we also, hosting trainings about anti-ICE, that'd be fantastic. Write that down.
Starting to happen in New Jersey's 11th district as well.
And Ana Lilia, could you talk a little bit about how you managed to win despite being outspent by several of your opponents in this race?
So, races we know the biggest problem that we have in our nation is the outsized power of big money. We know that big money floods our electoral system. It then shapes or takes precedent in our policy making. And it is a serious problem, obviously exacerbated after the Citizens United decision. As organizers across...
No, specifically exacerbated after Citizens United. We saw the graph in one of our earlier videos where billionaire and industrial, corporate spending in political races was less than 1% up until Citizens United, and then it hit double digits all at once. So it's not exacerbated, it was deliberately opening the door.
Across the country understand, it's either people power or money power. And in this instance, what we focused on was how to connect with people, how to engage across the district and talk about the outsized power that big money has. So by the time that AIPAC is making its big money spend, we had spent some serious time talking to voters about how that kind of action would end up corrupting our political system, our policymaking system. And I think it worked. It is, from day one, I shared that I would not take corporate PAC dollars, that I wouldn't take APAC money, simply because I think that the only thing that a representative should be focused on is representing their constituents, not trying to appease big money spends.
Ana Lilia Mejia. Mejia. Well done. Brava. I hope she does well. She seems like she is dedicated to the right ideologies. And once again, I'm supporting a Democrat as a Republican. But here's the thing. That shows a willingness to work across the aisle. So, with that being said, I think that's a great place to end the stream. We have all of our little own advertisements. I'm running for Congress in Ohio's 15th Congressional. Here's our social media links, and these are the days that we stream. I'm really not good at figuring out where my fingers show up on this. But suffice to say, I appreciate you all watching and being a part of this. I hope you all enjoyed your time on the stream. I'm trying to get better at being a content creator in terms of like the actual streaming stuff to be more engaging and involve the chat and the viewership more. But I am a candidate first and foremost, and I'm a politician really more so than anything else. I'm not a great campaigner. I didn't work for some director level something or another. I was enlisted, and then I was a worker, and then I was disenfranchised and running for office, and then I was even more disenfranchised and ran for DNC chair, and then I realized that the Democrats were a bunch of traitorous bastards, right? So I've been fighting the grassroots fight for ages, and it is what it is. Not all of us succeed in getting away from the grassroots or splashing into our communities. I have not been that fortunate. But that doesn't mean that we give up, and that doesn't mean that times don't change with the message that is being delivered. So I definitely look forward to seeing you all in the future. Please like, share, and subscribe, both to this channel and to all these things down here. And with that, y'all have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. Samuel Ronan, out.